I won't lose!
Hey guys, welcome to my end of 2025 Roy matchup chart. Now, I've been wanting to make a matchup chart for a bit since there hasn't been a matchup chart for 3 years actually. The last one was released by Goblin in 2022. So it's been quite a while, quite a bit has changed in the meta, and I think it's time to give my current opinions on where Roy stands against all the other characters in the current meta. So I have 5 tiers here, ordered from very winning to bad. So I don't really like using +1, +2, -1, -2. Just because I find that matchups are not that cut and dry, and saying winning or not or losing I find is a little bit more accurate. So I'm not going to be spending too much time on most of these, since if you've already watched Goblin's video, he does a good job going into the specifics of matchups. But I'll be touching on some things I think he missed, and I'll start off with matchups where there's not too much to talk about. I'll get those out of the way, and then I'll be going on some of the more important matchups a bit further on later. So I think we'll start with Banjo. So Banjo, I think, is very winning to slight win, but I'd say a bit more very winning, just because we have the speed to break up his zoning, which is really good. And then we also, in neutral, we can shield around his projectiles, and he's just very slow, very weak. He has to wait neutral a lot of times, and his win conditions just aren't that strong on Roy, I find, in general. I'm pretty sure Roy forward air just eats through neutral B as well, so that's really good. If Roy can get a hold of the down B bomb, then he basically has the entirety of neutral control against Banjo for the time being that he has it. So I think that matchup is just very simple. We just have range, speed, all that. Next, I'm going to also put Bowser a little bit lower slight win. You're just basically going to have very strong out of shield against Nair. Against forward air is unpunishable, so either parry or disengage. And then getting off ledge, you mostly want to kind of guess when he's going to F-tilt, because what they'll do a lot is they'll do Flame Breath, and then as it's ending, they'll either buffer shield or F-tilt, and it's just about knowing which one they're going to do. I wouldn't recommend rolling that much, since they're going to go for the up B reaction anyway. So I would say mix up get up attack, jump, and neutral get up, and you should be pretty good against Bowser. You can also juggle this character really hard too, since he has a frame 4 air dodge, and he doesn't have the greatest landing options. You do have to watch out for down air though, but other than that, it's pretty easy to juggle. And then in neutral, he doesn't have that many out of shield options if you space. He just has up B, so as long as you're not getting overly parried or just mixed up, you should be fine in neutral. I'll cover DK too, so it's similar to Bowser, but you gotta be careful getting parried even more now because grab is gonna be a lot more threatening. I like crossing up DK a lot because back air out of shield doesn't consistently punish Nair. So you're going to force him to have to make that read and go for the parry. And then if he starts doing that, just use more forward air, down tilt, all that. He has very, very, very bad out of shield options. So if you're able to get down tilt jab, there's just going to be super consistent shield pressure. You mostly just got to watch out for burst dash attacks and him using F tilt to anti-approach you. But as long as you can get around those and not be too obvious with your approaches, you should be pretty fine. You can also edgeguard DK really hard too with a mix of forward air, counter, and down air, depending on the recovery path that he takes. And once again, just same with Bowser, you can juggle him really hard, and he gets comboed off of down throw at 0 really hard too. So you can do like down throw jab, upper, upper, upper. It works on, I think, all DI when it comes to heavies. So you're just gonna eat Bowser for breakfast at low %. All right, next up, I'm gonna go Dr. Mario. Now this is again teetering between very winning and slight win, but because of his out of shield options and him having pill, which is really good, I'm gonna put it in slight win, but it could very well go in +2. I think just when it comes to Doc, as long as you're not being overly obvious with your approaches and make sure that you're spacing all your shield pressure, I think he kind of just gets out-charactered and just outranged, outsped, all that. His kill confirms do work pretty well on Roy, and Roy is combo food for a lot of the down throw up air stuff. But in general, Roy is just a much better character, and he just outspeeds and outpressures Dr. Mario in neutral. Simple as that. But you do have to watch out for the kill confirms and the combos. And also, Dr. Mario ledge traps Roy pretty hard too, because Roy can never do aggressive options off ledge realistically, because like up B is just so threatening. So I think that's what's keeping it from being very winning. I'll also have Captain Falcon in slight win as well. Once again, we outrange him, but speed this time is gonna go to Falcon, but we do have range, and our combo game is very, very good on Falcon because he's just big, tall, and fast falling. So a lot of your Nair strings, a lot of your up air strings, jab side B is gonna connect really easily. We also do have, if you can get to ledge before him, you can do bear edge guards, which are gonna be really good. We also ledge trap him really hard. The only reason it's not very winning is because Falcon combos us really hard too. All of his kill confirms work perfectly. His combo game is really solid. He has a lot of edge guarding 50-50s at low percent that are really good, where he can either wait and down air, or he can just go for another nair. So Falcon can be pretty dangerous, but as long as you don't get cheesed and you keep it to just a sortie versus non-sortie, it's just going to be a winning matchup every time. Same thing with Ganondorf, but he's even more easy, I would say, than DK or Bowser, but I'll still have him in slight win. Just because it's actually pretty hard to ledge trap Ganon, because he does have that ledge hang, and you always have to ledge trap with the threat of jump side B. So ledge trapping Ganon kind of sucks, but we dominate Ganon in neutral and advantage state. But he does have combos and the ledge trapping thing, so it's definitely not super winning, but he's definitely a lot less scary in my opinion than DK. And I'll also have K-Roll slight win for very similar reasons. You just gotta be aware of the edge guarding, mostly with Nair. That's gonna be what's really threatening. And then in neutral, what I like to do is I'll try and bait him with just movement at the mid-range to throwing crown. And I'll play at that range where you can, on reaction, just drop shield grab it. So that's definitely the range and the game plan I would suggest in neutral. As far as advantage state goes, it's gonna be the same as the other heavies, just you gotta watch out for Nair out of a juggle. But as long as you alternate between doing back air and Nair, or just baiting it out and F smashing him, it's gonna be really good. You also do have to be aware that he has pressure off of Nair because Nair is -5. So you have to treat it as a Roy forward air where he can do Nair into up tilts, and it has basically the same frame data as fair into jab. So you have to be ready to just parry, to read and parry the up tilt or just disengage. If he does do the up tilt, then that's a free up B every time. And you also have to watch out for the reversals on platforms too. I've had that happen to me a lot where I'm trying to shark K-Roll through the platform, and then he'll just rip it down or up smash, and then it kills you at actually 60. So you just gotta be pretty aware of that, but I would fight him the same way as if I DK or Bowser, just with that, with the crown counterplay and the juggling. On to Zelda. I have Zelda in very winning. I don't believe in this character too much, honestly. I think Roy just outspeeds. He has the range advantage. He has just very good advantage on Zelda. Zelda's no way to get down. She is gonna try and gimmick you with Phantom. She is gonna try and edgeguard you with neutral B. She's gonna try and go for up B out of shield. But as long as you're playing around those win conditions, then Zelda doesn't have the consistency that Roy does. She's a very gimmick and one-off character. Against Phantom, it's gonna be the most problematic on ledge. You gotta read her timing, because if you don't know how Phantom works, Zelda releases the Phantom at different timings. So as long as you're using your neutral get up invincibility frames to get through that Phantom, or jumping or rolling accordingly, you're gonna be pretty well off. The only way that Zelda can realistically win is if she gets a cheese with forward air into like Phantom matchup checks, and that's basically gonna be it. So I think a matchup is super duper winning for Roy. Next up, I'm gonna put Robin. This is gonna be, I think, Roy's honestly easiest matchup in the game. We are just, again, fast, we have range, we ledge trap him super hard. Robin's main win condition, arc fire, is gonna be way worse because we have speed, and we can just hit the arc fire before it lands, which is gonna be really good. If we nair Robin's shield, she has absolutely no out of shield options, so that's just gonna be free shield pressure. She gets juggled super hard. Roy is just way better as well. When it comes to getting off ledge, you're gonna play it very, very similar to Zelda, where you're gonna look for the timings of the arc fire. You're gonna look for when you can jump, when you can roll, when you can neutral get up. And then also against Robin, sometimes if I'm unsure, I'll just take the hit and then just recover again. I'll just reset ledge, because it is a resource. So if you can leave Robin with no arc fire, then his ledge time becomes a lot worse. You do kind of have to watch out for when he gets the 11 sword though, because then he can compete with Roy's hitboxes. But even with that, Roy is still gonna be faster. So I think there's just no way for Robin to win as long as Roy just isn't giving up free ledge traps. Plant's gonna go in slight win. It's a bit of a weird matchup, honestly, and it's one of my least familiar ones, but from what I can tell by watching Plant and just my limited knowledge and experience fighting Plant, I would say we just have the damage and range and pressure advantage in general. Ptui, again, is a bit of a gimmicky move, but there are some positions where it's really, really strong against Roy, particularly in edge guarding and comboing, so I wouldn't have it in very winning, but I would say just not that complicated of a matchup. You just gotta out hitbox Plant and just out damage. Same with Wii Fit. I've never really fought Wii Fit outside of Elite Smash, but it definitely feels like, other than the gimmicks on ledge and the ledge stalling and all that, it feels like we're just better. We have better pressure, better damage, all that. And the projectiles, if you jump over them, you can whiff punish them really easily. She has like no out of shield options, so as long as you're cautious of deep breathing, it's a pretty comfortable win. I'd have it still in slight win though, because you can get blown up quite hard by deep breathing. And the damage output, you have to respect it quite a lot. Alright, next up, I have Little Mac, and he's going to be a slight win in my opinion. So Little Mac is a little bit more volatile than some of these other characters in slightly winning, because KO Punch, combos, and neutral is going to be a little bit dicey, especially for a winning matchup. But in the end, I think Roy just has the more consistent game plan. I think Little Mac he has to take risks a lot more than Roy, and he has to go in that range where Roy can just up B. I think everything Little Mac has on shield, basically, all of his tilts, smashes, all that are up B-able. So you just gotta make sure you're not getting grabbed a lot. And when he has KO Punch, I like to just plat camp it and try and just find a forward air or an up air, like some kind of whiff punish. And if he doesn't come to you, if you have the lead, you can just stay on the platform. Not really anything you can do besides just try and rip the KO Punch to read you, but you can react to him running in, so it's not that bad. You are going to kind of have to be careful when you're pressuring with down tilt though, because you can just sneak an F smash in, or you can dash attack. So I like to play the matchup very aerial based. I like to just jump, not forward, but I like to jump in position so that he can't whiff punish you or get there faster. Because he does low profile a lot, so it's going to be kind of hard to snipe him with Nair. So I like to just play it as a forward air matchup. Just forward air in place a lot, do a lot of side Bs, up B out of shields. If he does give you the opportunity to edge guard him, definitely go for that forward air. But if not, just try and go for down air because his up B doesn't really snap. Alright, next up, I have Lucario in slight win. Honestly, my opinion of this matchup has gone down a little bit. I used to think it was one of Roy's easiest matchups. But I've kind of watched, particularly Armadillo, who's one of the best players in Canada at one point, who pilots Lucario, and he showed me that you can kind of just stay at the sour spot range and have decent success with Aura. And also, the fact that Roy is so engagey means that he has to go in the cheese burst range that Lucario wants you in. And it can very easily go south for Roy. But it's definitely still winning because we can kill him really early. Jab back air blows him up. We have really good ledge trapping. The neutral's good, but Lucario is very difficult to hit, so you kind of have to play at that sour spot range. But as long as you're able to get those conversions at the critical percents, as long as you're getting those side Bs, those jairs, all that, I think we just have a little bit more consistency. But it's definitely not that simple, and you cannot sleep on Lucario. King Dedede and the Belmonts, I'm going to kind of group them together. They're both +1s, and they're both very similar matchups, where it's basically just super winning, like +3 on stage, and then they both ledge sharp away pretty hard. So the matchups are all about learning how to get off ledge. For Belmonts, I would treat it kind of like Robin. You got to get the timings of down down in terms of counterplay. I like to just reset ledge if I'm not sure. Or especially more Belmonts, I'll roll or jump, because neutral get up almost never works. Attack get up almost never works because they're always going to be at roll distance. So I'll kind of mix in those two, or just re-grab ledge if I feel that the timing is not good. In terms of Dedede, there's a little bit more nuance. His ledge trapping, they can definitely switch up the Gordo timing and make it a little bit annoying. I like to use aerials from ledge to hit Gordo instead of get up attack, because I find it's just a bit more consistent. A lot of the times he'll be charging up either a jet hammer or he'll shield, which both beat get up attack. So I like to just do drop down up air or drop down forward air. And then if he's scouting for those, you can instead just do drop down neutral air dodge. I like that a lot. I also like jump air dodge too if the Gordo is at the utmost position, because you can just air dodge through it. But you have to watch when the Gordo bobs, because it can hit your jump as it's coming up before the air dodge comes out. Because there is a window of like 3 or 4 frames before air dodge comes out that he can hit jump get up. And then if he's not respecting roll, obviously just roll through, but they'll never let you roll if they know what they're doing. So it's mostly just drop from ledge aerials or jump get up based on the timing of the Gordo. And then in neutral, it's just gonna be really simple. When they don't have their projectiles to wall you out, you're just gonna be the better character. You're just gonna be more fast. You're gonna have more damage. You're gonna have everything more consistent. So they're kind of just gimmick matchups. So you definitely can't let them get their win condition too easily. So as long as you know the correct counterplay, you should be good to go. I'm also gonna have Isabelle, Villager, and Rosalina in slight win too. I have like next to no experience against these characters, but I just think that the speed advantage, the range advantage, and the combo ability of them just puts it over the edge for Roy. Rosalina, there's a lot more to the matchup than Villager and Isabelle, so I recommend watching like a Cola vs. Dabuz set if you want to see how to counterplay Luma. But from what I can tell, they're both very, very good matchups. The only issue, again, is just the fact that they're kind of matchup checks, but Roy does have the consistency, and just the basic game plan is way better. I'm gonna have Duck Hunt in slight win, and the reason for that is going to be can be forward aired, which is really good. It can be down tilted. You want to be fighting the can, not letting the can fight you, pretty much. So when you're approaching Duck Hunt, a mistake I see a lot of Roys play is they'll try and just ignore the can and just rush him down. You can't really do that because it makes your approaches very linear. If you're always just jumping over can, they're gonna adapt really quickly and just either can later, or they're gonna just do like jump forward air. They're gonna anti-air you. You gotta play when can is in front of you and hit it or shield it. Just try and counterplay can before you counterplay Duck Hunt. You can't just skip the can phase unless they're letting you do that for whatever reason. So fighting Duck Hunt's kind of like a 2-step process. I think Roy really thrives in edge guarding. I think the fact that Roy can live really long very consistently means that rage is going to be a problem for Duck Hunt. I feel like Roy tech chase is really good. He has options that can explode Duck Hunt really easily if he's not careful. Duck Hunt kind of has to set up a lot, and if Roy's fast, you can kind of force Duck Hunt to do these kind of committal options that he doesn't really want to do because he doesn't get that setup time. So really, it's all about figuring out how to play when Duck Hunt has the setup time, realizing that you can't just skip neutral against can. You have to counterplay the can, then you have to fight him, and make sure you're getting your edge guards and ledge traps in, and just make sure your combos are tight too, because he has 2 frame 1 escapes. So you definitely have to not let him get those. And then also, whenever you're at high percent, make sure you're ready to preemptively DI can. Because if he reads you pressing anything in can trades and you're still holding in, then you'll just miss DI and die like 40% earlier than you have to. Bowser Jr. So Bowser Jr., slight win. Again, seeing kind of a little bit of a pattern here. A lot of these simpler matchups are just going to be slight wins. When it comes to Bowser Jr., neutral, you're going to play it a little bit like Sonic. I'll touch more on that later, but you're going to want to respect his side B and then look for the option that is after the side B. So a lot of juniors will jump back, and that's just an easy forward air or nair call out. Or if they're doing the just normal side B, I like to just shield, and then if they jump, punish, and if they don't, then just disengage, and then they'll give you center stage, which Sonic doesn't really care about that, but Bowser Jr. actually does like stage control quite a bit. You do get comboed really hard, unfortunately. That's just fast followers against Bowser Jr.'s. That's gonna be rough like that. Most of them are completely undieable at low percent, but if you get up bead at high percent, I believe the DI is out to avoid the up B hit. I could be wrong. I'm not 100% sure about that. It might just be completely true. So just watch that you're not getting footstool up bead when you're doing your nairs. He does have up smash as an out of shield option if you're caught mashing fair jab, which can be annoying. So you kind of have to hold shield or dash back after jab or after forward air, which is fine. I have Dark Pit in slight win as well. With Dark Pit, his hitboxes in general are just going to be a little bit worse than Roy's. His speed is a little bit worse than Roy's. His damage output is a little bit worse than Roy's. Just everything in neutral is just slightly better for Roy, which is going to be really good. You unfortunately can't really uppy most of his stuff, but you have the range advantage, you have the speed advantage. This can be a pretty whiff punishy matchup. I like to let Pit hold forward with Nair before me and then whiff punish that rather than holding forward on him. You do have the advantage when it comes to pressure too, because you have the very safe moves. He has no out of shield other than Nair, so as long as you're being careful about that, it's good. Don't let yourself get conditioned by arrow as well. So just jump or shield it. Don't judge your approaches based on arrow, because then that'll just give him free information. So just avoid arrow and then approach, don't group it together. Also, when it comes to edge guarding, if you do the 45-degree angle, then none of his hitboxes beat it, except for down air, which he has to time perfectly, and if he fails, it just sends you up, which helps you. So just don't let your jump get eaten by arrow, and you can just out hitbox him with your up B, which is going to be super consistent. Ice Climbers. Ice Climbers also slight win. Just going to be about separating Nana, which is going to be really strong since you can't DI, so you can just forward air train her across the entire stage, which is going to be really good. She also doesn't DI jab back air, so that will kill super early. Side B will kill super early. You just gotta watch out how they desync in neutral and what setups that they use. I've actually fought this character quite a bit, and I like to kind of play around with full hops because they're gonna do a lot of their frost, like the down B. They're gonna look for side B, and they're gonna look for you grabbing them, not knowing when they can just hit you for grabbing. So I like to just watch what they do. Kind of the first few neutral interactions, I'll just not really press anything. I'll just move around and watch how they respond to the burst range changing. And I find myself whiff punishing down B a lot and just getting forward air pressure on shield because they don't have great out of shield options. And then once you're in a combo, I'm not exactly sure how you're supposed to get out. I think most of them are just completely true. I would say like try and SDI up and in. That'd be my best guess, but most of them look completely unavoidable other than the ones where you can tech the like the footstool, but they still have ways to get around that. The matchup's mostly just about neutral. Don't let them just spam setups, watch what they do. Every ice climber kind of plays a bit differently. So just watch what habits they have because they're very setup based players. So as soon as you find a way to break their setup, usually they kind of have nothing. So yeah, just always watch what they do first. I forgot about Mewtwo. Mewtwo's actually also very winning, I think. I think it's like a top 5 Roy matchup. I think we just have speed, range, once again, kind of a running theme that you've heard me talk about over and over again. But Mewtwo's tail hitbox and big hitbox are particularly bad. She's probably the character in the game that we combo the hardest overall, just between jab side B being like uber consistent, all the Nair strings working really well, up air just juggling her forever. There's just not much that Mewtwo has. Like, I think the only thing Mewtwo has that's better than Roy is the fact that she has a projectile and a really good footstool punish. So you do have to be careful about that. But I mean, other than that, she kind of just sucks. So the thing about Ike is she has a little bit more range than Roy, which can be a little bit annoying. But the thing about Ike that you have to remember is he does everything landing. And if he's doing things rising, then it's very punishable. So what we can do is we can neutral air a lot. I like to neutral air so much against Ike because not only does he have terrible out of shield options, but they love to jump, they love to empty hop, and neutral air will just cut through all that. And if you can force Ike to play like super grounded, then you can start down tilting, then you can start grabbing, and then everything just becomes really simple. Ikes will always try and just read a bunch of bad dash-ins. So as long as you're not giving them those easy nairs, as long as you're not just spamming down tilt and getting whiff punished, as long as you're watching out for dash attack at kill percent, you're not getting caught by that weird auto cancel thing, like the auto cancel window with side B. Just remember that if he's side being at plat height, then it auto cancels. So you just got to be wary of that. If you read it, you can counter, which is really good. If ever he's forced to up B, that's just an easy counter or down air. So yeah, Ike is just slow. He kind of sucks as well. We juggle him forever. It's a pretty good matchup. I don't think it's as bad as the Ike players say. I don't think it's his worst matchup. I think that's like kind of exaggerating just a little because he does kill us pretty early, does juggle us really well. He has that range advantage. But yeah, definitely win for Roy. Chrom's gonna be an even, not too much to say there. It's basically a ditto. I would say it's like ever so slightly probably Roy favored just because basically the only difference the reason it's not just a complete ditto is because on stage Chrom is a little bit more consistent because he doesn't have that sour spot, so you can just play at the tipper range. But we do have edge guarding on Chrom, and if he ever misspaces up B, that's just a super easy counter. And when he does do that predictable spacing, it's honestly pretty easy to either back air or down air. Yeah, side B, Roy's side B is much better, much better. And our up B out of shield is 1 frame faster too, so our up B can true punish jab and his can't, so that's huge. Because jab is -9, Roy's up B's frame 9, Chrom's frame 10. That's going to be huge in the matchup. So yeah, just be the better Chrom or Roy player, basically. Next up is Incineroar. Incineroar is a win, but it is a very scary matchup. If you watch any Roy versus Incineroar set, pretty much, it'll look like the Roy's in the driver's seat, and then suddenly things can go south really fast. Incineroar's up air combos are really good on Roy. He can just farm revenge off stage, which is really annoying. And Roy does have to play in the range where he can just get like unreactable side bead, or he can just get grabbed, or he can get anti-aired because Incineroar's forward air is basically just a sword move. So there's a lot of things about this matchup that are super scary and relevant too, not just gimmicks. But Roy, of course, gonna be way faster. He's gonna have that sword. He's going to have those combos. It's going to be really good in the matchup. Incineroar, he has a lot. There's a lot that both characters have. It's definitely a matchup you have to respect a lot. If the Incineroar is really precise on their whiff punishes, you're going to have to force him to start approaching. I find it's usually pretty fine to approach Incineroar, but if they're like, if I'm playing SkyJ and he's calling out everything, I'll just let him come to me, because that's when the speed advantage is really apparent. But yeah, definitely dangerous matchup for sure, but still winning. Jigglypuff, slight win once again. This matchup is honestly Incineroar, but turned up to 1,000. It is probably the scariest winning matchup I would say that Roy has, and I'm like 100% sure that's winning. But it is very scary because things can turn really bad really fast. Jigglypuff's edge guarding, sometimes it's honestly guaranteed. If you can get to the same angle that I was talking about with Pit, then it's really good. That 45-degree angle, your up B can sometimes just beat Jigglypuff's Nair and Fair. You kind of don't want to go too low and recover with no hitbox above you. That's kind of a mistake that I see a lot of Roy players make. And then obviously just watch out burning your jump. This matchup is kind of decided off stage. On stage, Roy kind of just bodies Puff with whiff punishes and just outranging. So off stage, you just really have to, even if you gotta take damage, just as long as you don't die, that's definitely gonna be winning for sure. I like to use a lot of jump Nair dodge as well. Just trying to juke Jigglypuff because she is kind of linear with her movement because she's so slow, so floaty. You can kind of tell which area she wants to cover, and don't let her read you off stage. Sometimes you kind of just die and that's fine, but if you can minimize the offstage deaths, then that's definitely the way to win this matchup. I have Marcina in winning as well. They can kind of edgeguard you with counter, not gonna lie. The F tilt can be a little bit annoying, but we just have better damage output, we're faster, we're just a better character than them. They have up air shields, which is gonna be really good, unfortunately. So you have to watch out about misspacing and just jabbing their shields and getting red. It's definitely going to be important. I like down tilt a lot. I like Nair a lot because they're going to be jumpers as well, just like Ike. They like to just land moves a lot. So just watch their patterns, watch when they want to jump, and just have a Nair put in that position. You can also weave in and out like a lot quicker than them. So if ever you watch, I think Cola versus Mr. E is a really good example. I've watched a bunch of their sets. Cola just kind of outmaneuvers Mr. E, and there's nothing you can really do about it because Roy just has, he just falls faster, so you can pressure more safe options quicker. So Mr. E, the only way he ever wins really is by edge guarding Cola and by ledge trapping him. Those are really the only two ways. And I feel like Roy, as long as he gets around kind of the gimmicks, it's just a winning matchup. Like when it comes down to it, you're just faster and more damaging. Alright, I'm going to get into some even matchups now, which I'm probably going to be spending a little bit longer talking about, because there's a little bit more to them, rather than just Roy having the character advantage for the most part. I'm going to have Joker in even. I guess this might be a hot take in the Roy player base, because a lot of us seem to think that we lose to Joker, but honestly, I think the matchup is even, and that just comes down to the fact that we kind of body base Joker, and half the matchup we're winning, half the matchup we're losing. So I think as long as we mitigate the amount that we're losing, it should be fine. So I'm going to break this matchup down into how to play versus Arsene and how to play versus Base Joker, because I think it differs quite a bit. So versus Base Joker, the threats are just whiff punishes and the projectiles pretty much. So as long as you're being mindful with not approaching too obviously, you can kind of just out hitbox him and out damage him. While Joker's in base form, all of our aerials are just going to be bigger and do more damage, and all of our combos are going to be more effective. And he doesn't have those big edge guarding moves that he'll have in the Arsene form, so you can be a lot more risky in neutral. So against Arsene, so this is where it becomes a little more complicated, because Arsene, when he gets Arsene, now he has more damage, bigger hitboxes, a lot more priority on like everything, more shield damage. I like to try and kind of half camp Arsene, because you can't really camp because he'll just take stage, he'll just start gunning you. So you can't really do it, but I like to approach a lot less. And instead of playing at that mid-range, I play a little bit farther away to where you can avoid, you know, dash attacks, dash grabs, back air. I like to adjust my threat range a little bit. If he starts going for, if they start going for lax, just back airs and approaches, you can start to fight back. But in general, I would almost never hold forward when they have Arsene. Definitely stand your ground, but I wouldn't go for any huge commitments or reads, because there's no point in fighting Joker when he's in a state where he's stronger. And I would focus most of your efforts on just getting rid of Arsene and minimizing damage, because honestly, Roy beats Base Joker pretty hard. I like to really try and go for air dodges to ledge when he has down B as a counter. And then you can also do jump nair dodge too to get through back airs and then just recover. But in general too, against Arsene, try and play more stage positional so that you're not thrown off stage as much, because that's where it's going to be really bad. So yeah, just out hitbox him when he has Base Joker and try and minimize Arsene. That's basically that matchup. So for Wario, he's also going to be even. It's going to be a lot of patience, a lot of whiff punishing, a lot of just slowly trying to condition the Wario player to not just whiff punish themselves. So you're going to be playing a lot of footsies in the mid-range. Because what Wario wants, for the most part, is to dash back nair, dash back disengage just to keep charging waft, or he's going to want to be finding dash grabs or just positional reads with forward airs and parries and stuff. So make sure that you're playing the matchup like a sortie. Don't go too aggressive, because you do want to make Wario have to work to get in. His out of shield options are a lot better than you might think. He has forward air and nair that are pretty good. So you have to make sure everything's spaced. You can't get too lazy with just fair jabbing. You got to mix it up. Wario's also like to jump a lot, so you got to be ready to do those up airs into nair him. And then last thing, his fast fall air dodge is really broken. So whenever you're juggling, I would honestly almost never commit to up air. I like to do a lot of just feint jumps and read his fast fall air dodge with either side B or an up air. And then when he has waft charged, obviously just watch out for sour up tilt or nair or up air. Those are going to be his best combo starters. So then just transition to just a more spaced neutral at that point. Game & Watch. I hate playing this matchup a lot. It's one of my least favorite matchups to play. Even though it's even, it's definitely very unfun. And the way that you have to play is you have to actually just camp Game & Watch, like straight up. You need to make him nair into you or forward air into you and then whiff punish like more than almost any other matchup. Because you're not doing nairs because he's up being. You're not doing forward airs really that much because he's up being. You're not going for grabs that much because he's always spot dodging and he's always moving and he's always using forward air and nair in those hitboxes before he's moving in. So it's going to be a lot of movement baits. So you're going to move into his burst range, step out, utilize your the fact that you're faster, and then you're going to go for nair or side B whiff punishes a lot against his nair. I really like doing that. Eventually, they're going to start shielding a lot, and that's when you could start going for grabs and down tilts and forward airs, but spaced. Remember that, because he's one of the only characters that can consistently punish down tilt if you're not spacing it, which is actually going to be really annoying. So when you are pressuring his shields without grabbing, you're going to really, really want to do it at a spaced range. Probably the most important matchup to where you're going to want to condition him into shielding before you start pressuring. So it's honestly going to be just a really slow burner. It's going to be very whiff punishy, as I was saying. One good thing too is if ever you shield his up B, you can just double jump up air. That's gonna be a really consistent punish. And then from there, you gotta watch out for down air, getting down. So I like to go for jump in, jump out, back air. And that's gonna be the way that I juggle him mostly. So when it comes to getting off ledge, this is not just like a Roy specific thing, it's just Game & Watch. I would just try and learn the timings of when bacon ends, because you can only do 3 or 4 bacons at once. So after he finishes the bacon, that's when you want to press your option. But the issue is that the bacon is going to continue as your invincibility is running out for the most part. So then he's going to do run up F tilt off the bacon. So for me, it becomes more of a read of, oh, I'm going to roll here because I think he's going to run up F tilt, or I'm going to get up attack the F tilt or something. Getting off ledge against Game & Watch sucks. Like, it's really annoying. But you're going to want to not fish for reversals ever. You're just going to want to minimize damage. Kind of similar way that we deal with Arsene Joker off stage. You can't be in that aggressive mindset. You have to be just really patient, and you have to be really disciplined for sure against Game & Watch. But at the end of the day, we do kill him really early. And if you are able to play that whiff punishing game, you can minimize Game & Watch's cheese factor a lot. So for Inkling, this is another one of my least favorite matchups to play, which might surprise some of you because Inkling is not really that much of like a hated character, but it's a very similar matchup to Game & Watch in the sense that you have to force Inkling to press onto you. Like, you can't just hold forward because she has that really low profile dash, she has that jab, she has that back air. She's gonna try and stuff bad approaches a lot. So you have to get to that range and weave in and out a lot. Try and live really long. You need to learn the Booyah percent. I forget exactly what it is, but whenever I know I have to play an Inkling, I always check the Booyah percent before. And you just gotta just straight up camp. Like, just don't hold forward, don't let them get parries. You gotta be ready for them to just be fishing for grab, because they're not gonna want Roy to live forever, because then he'll get rage. And then everything else will just be really dangerous for Inkling. So they're going to start to fish for rollers and grabs like a lot. So you have to play by their rules basically whenever you're at that percent. And even at low percent, they can rack up damage like really quick. And their back air stuffs out a lot of what Roy wants to do. So you have to play that matchup kind of like a very traditional sortie. You got to play like Lucina. Like, think about it like that. Palu's also going to be even. You're going to want to learn when they want to nair, and you're going to place a nair right where they're going because our nair has a little bit more range, which is going to be really good. I put a video out about Smock fighting one of the best Palus in Canada, and he did a really interesting way of playing that matchup. And he played kind of really like the way that I think you should, which is he played a lot more whiff punishy. He just learned when Pacha wanted to nair, and that's what allowed him to win. You can also combo Palu pretty hard, but she does get down from juggles quite well, so you have to be careful for that. If you do learn when they want to air dodge, then you can punish them pretty hard. But for the most part, you kind of have to respect Palu a lot in the air because she has that teleport cancel. I like to try and avoid bringing her to dual plats too because of that, but sometimes you have more important bans outside of that, so it can be kind of tough in those situations. She also combos Roy really hard, ledge traps him, edge guards him pretty well. So the matchup can be a little bit tricky at times, but at the end of the day, you just have to utilize your sword range. I also think down tilt tech chases on Palu are particularly good because she falls like kind of slow, but still gets down tilted like really consistently. I think it just has to do with her holding in, and I find myself getting a lot of sweet spot down tilts against her. I really like down tilt tech chasing against Palu. And then when it comes to Palu off stage, I like to try and recover as low as I can. If you're not at nair kill percent, you can just take the nair if they do falling nair, and then it gives you a lot more height to work with. So from that point, you just recover high. But if they're going for counter, just try and outplay them. Try and up B high, try and air dodge instead. Try and just stall the counter. Just treat it as any other counter. It does last quite a while, so you do have to be careful for that. All right, Luigi. This is honestly, this could be losing, but I want to be optimistic. I'm still going to put in even. Honestly, this could become a loss soon enough, but I think for the time being, Roy has like just enough good things in the matchup between just pressure and advantage state that I think we can honestly, if you're really consistent at calling out their down Bs and just pressuring the fact that he has like a slow fall speed, slow jump, all that, you can do really good in advantage state against Luigi. And then in neutral, you have to play it a lot like a Game & Watch matchup, where it's going to be a lot of whiff punishes. You have to watch for when they want to grab in Zair. Zair is never ever punishable, so you have to always just dash back or roll back at low percent so they don't grab you. If they're just mashing Fireball Zair, which is what they're going to do a lot, you can eat the Fireball with forward air and then just pressure him after the Zair, which I really like doing. If he does Zairs really predictably, you can sometimes whiff punish it with Nair, but make sure you're being careful because if he shields that Nair and you do it buffered, then you can up B. So make sure you're doing safe Nairs, make sure you're doing forward air. I like to grab him quite a bit. Luigi players like to shields, so just be careful about that. If you get down throwed at around 65, you kind of just have to try and DI mix them. Don't be super obvious about it, but if Luigi's playing it right, they'll be able to kill you off that at any point. So just make sure that you're mixing your DI correctly as much as you can. Always be ready to tech downer on platforms too. That's another big thing. Luigi players love to go for that. And then also watch out for up tilt to anti-approach you, because if you're at up tilt up %, then they'll be going for that a lot, I find. Fox, also even. I think the pressure for Fox can be annoying, but we have a sword, once again. I feel like I've said that a million times, but it's true. A lot of these brawler characters that a lot of Roy players think are really bad. I think if you just play the matchup more like a traditional sortie and not letting your approaches get called out as much, I think it's really good. If he's just buffering up tilt after back air or nair, then that'll catch you. So you gotta keep shielding. You have to kind of play that mix up, which can be really annoying, but it's Fox. He's basically just the best like close range shield pressure character in the game. So any character is gonna struggle against that. But what I really like about the Fox matchup is he's super light, and he's probably the easiest character in the game to get down or 2 frames on. You can kill Fox at like absurd percents. Like I'm talking like 30-35% with downer F smash or just down air sweet spot. And you can also read side B with F tilt too if they start doing that. So you just have really consistent punishes in those areas. His dash attack can also be a bit problematic too, because he can just whiff punish our nairs and forward airs really well. But we do explode him, and this is one of the very few matchups where Roy is kind of like a more gimmicky character than his opponent. So you really got to be looking for those chances to kill Fox really early. And if you're able to do that and just not get blown up too hard with the shield pressure, it's definitely even for sure, I think. So Cloud could go either slight win or even, but I think at the moment I'm leaning more towards even. I think neutral for Roy is really good because we have Nair, which can cover him doing back air pressure really well, because he's one of those types of characters that does landing aerials a lot as well. So if you know when the Cloud is going to jump, you can read their jump with Nair, and then that's really good. I think that we ledge trap Cloud really hard. I don't think Cloud really edgeguards Roy that well. I don't think Roy edgeguards Cloud that well, other than if he's up being, what's really good is we can down air or down tilt it to interrupt it, and sometimes you can kill him really early. But if the Cloud player knows what they're doing, they can up B space around down tilt and down air pretty well. But you can definitely get those cheese stocks sometimes, which is really, really good. Just the main thing in the Cloud matchup, other than just being kind of a traditional sortie matchup, is don't let yourself get mixed on shield too much. You don't want to be shielding when he's at that landing back air spot, because then he'll do like unreactable side B mix-ups, he'll tomahawk you, he'll just do the back air delayed to mix up your parry timing. So I would say play the matchup very movement based. Don't be overly shielding, because that's what the Cloud wants. If they start limit camping you, which a lot of good Cloud players will resort to that if you're just waiting for them to back air, then you kind of have to penetrate the space a little bit. Don't let them be too comfortable charging limit, because there is quite a bit of lag after limit charge. So if you're ready for it, you can make them do panic jumps or panic shield. So you kind of have to play the matchup pretty close, but as long as you're moving along with them and not just excessively shielding, then you should be pretty good. All right, for those of you that aren't that familiar with Roy, you might be surprised to see Kirby in even, but this matchup is very annoying, actually. So Kirby low profiles a lot of Roy's stuff. Even just in neutral, he's very hard to nair in general. So you're going to be playing it a lot more like a traditional sortie once again. It's going to be a much more of a forward air matchup than an air matchup, because the Kirby's going to be playing very grounded with just tilts and forward air mostly. So don't do bad approaches into tilts. That's going to be the main thing. Try to avoid getting excessively aggressive too off stage, because you can get edge guarded really, really easily. And try to avoid those percents where the up tilt down air strings happen too. If you're at that percent, you're gonna have to play outside of that range, which you honestly should be doing for most of the game anyway. So it's gonna be a very slow matchup, similar to Game Watch and Luigi. Where I think Roy does excel though is in juggling and killing. Kirby's very light, very floaty, so he kind of has like the Luigi effect where he gets juggled in advanced shade super hard, but he does have the cheese factor against Roy that's really, really potent. And if you're not ready, you can get edge guarded and blow up like super, super consistently, and it sucks. But you gotta be disciplined. It's definitely an annoying matchup, but not losing for sure. I think that the brawler players are pretty good at this matchup in general, but I think we still have our sword and we have the speed. And a lot of brawlers combos will work on Roy really well, but most of them won't kill because of his weight. So some things about the matchup that aren't so great. Brawler kind of gets off the ledge easier than most characters just because he has the threat of doing either BDK or suplex off ledge, whichever one he picks. He also has really, really good just ledge jump, and it's very hard to deal with. Also, Brawler's out of shield options are really, really good in this matchup too. He has full momentum nair out of shield. If he gets that, it's really bad. So if you're landing with forward air, make sure you're not mashing jab if the Brawler's ready for it. Also, up out of shield, if you're not spacing your moves, also will just punish everything as well. And then also, when you're down throwing him at low percent, he can just feint jump out if you don't do a completely true combo. But as long as you watch out for those things and just don't get cheesed as much as you can, the matchup is just winning for Roy, I think. Super early to jab F smash and jab back air as well. That's going to be really helpful. In neutral, he kind of plays a little bit like DK where he'll be spaced with tilts. So just don't get whiff punished super easily. Watch out for side Bs just randomly. And just really just be careful off stage with your jump. It's a pretty simple matchup, nothing too complicated. I also think we beat ZSS too. In fact, this matchup is low-key pretty easy to play. I think that the game plan is really, really simple. It's just trying to get blown up. ZSS kind of, she can only blow you up in like 1 or 2 ways. So as long as you avoid those, you should be pretty good. And those 2 ways being up airs, like the up air strings at the critical percents, just watch out that you're not getting up aired off the top or up air upbeat off the top. And then just also watch out, of course, you don't get nair flip kicked. But I feel like as long as you dodge her like 1 or 2 ways of cheesing you, we're just kind of the better character the whole game. We just kind of do more damage. We're actually not that easy to hit because our dash low profiles ZSS Zera and Nair sometimes. So the ZSS player has to play in a very specific way to catch you, and as long as you're just counterplaying that, you should have a pretty easy time in neutral. Honestly, neutral is just so easy against ZSS. She does have pretty good options to get a disadvantage, so that can be a bit annoying, but I feel like Roy just wins neutral so much in this matchup that even if your advantage state is not that precise, you're honestly probably still going to win. This matchup is like honestly borderline very winning, but I think ZSS just has that little range advantage, and she gets off ledge and no disadvantage pretty easily, so sometimes it can be annoying to make comebacks against her. But yeah, the matchup is very, very simple to play. And on the topic of easy game plans, I'm going to put Sephiroth in Slight Win too. It's basically the same as ZSS, just he's a little bit scarier, like off stage and in neutral. He can kill you randomly a little bit better, but he's honestly even less consistent than ZSS, which is like kind of a crazy thing to say. But he dies just like so early to jab back air, and he dies so early to side B. Honestly, sometimes I'll just be getting bodied the whole game, and then I'll just get one critical hit, and then that's all it takes. So things I would recommend in this matchup, parrying neutral air is really, really good, because they have to do it at a very specific timing, or else you just get up B. If you're able to shield versus F tilt, it's almost always up B'able, or you can do jump side B out of shield, which is going to be really good. You do have to watch out for the ledge planking. Sephiroth can be pretty annoying with that. It is possible to punish some of his loops, so if you catch him being lazy with it, by all means go for the punish. But in general, I like to play ledge trapping a little bit more low-key. Just prioritize not getting reversaled over getting the hits, and then just try and get the most out of neutral, because just like ZSS, neutral's pretty easy. He's just a bit fast, which is annoying, but yeah, I think Slight Win. I'll finish out the distance demons now, so I'm going to go with Min Min. This matchup is really annoying, but I'd say it's even. Roy has very good advantage against Min Min. In neutral, it can be pretty annoying, honestly. You're going to lose neutral a lot more than Min Min, but you just got to make sure that when you get your neutral wins that you make them count, because we juggle and ledge trap this character to absolute hell and back. It's really, really good. Shield is pretty powerful in this matchup, just make sure you're not getting grabbed. I like to close in the neutral with dash shield as much as I can, but you will want to swing at Min randomly. Definitely watch a set of Cola. I think he's the best Roy by far against Min. Just watch how he randomly gets really bursty against Min. I think that's definitely the way to do it. But if the Min is trying to call out your movement, then just make sure you're using that shield to the best of its ability. Occasionally you can get edge guards against Min, but it's not too reliable. If they're careful with their jump, then you shouldn't be getting them. But a lot of Min will just expect you never to go for it, so they'll just be lazy with the recovery. So if you see an opening, definitely go for it. Min's jump is very, very bad too, so if you can get them to not want to jump off ledge, then that's just a huge resource that they're not using. So I find that really, really helpful. There's not too much to it, honestly, just try and avoid getting caught in those critical situations, kind of similar to ZSS. Min, like, if you're at 40%, just make sure you're not neutral gapping in a down tilt, for example, because you'll get nared and die off of it. I haven't fought like a super good Min, but from what I've seen, I think Roy just has enough to make the matchup even. Alright, Byleth. So this, I'm not too sure about this one. I think it's teetering between even or slight win. I think, just to be optimistic, I'll say even, but I feel like the more and more I play this matchup, on both sides honestly, just because I play Byleth as well, I feel like Roy probably slightly wins. But if the Byleth is really on their advantage state, I can see it being even. So the way this matchup is this is like the biggest example of just don't get cheesed, like the matchup pretty much. Because neutral is honestly way better for Roy. It's basically just like fighting Sephiroth, but the character's slow. And if you're probably saying, oh well, Byleth has Nair, right? Well, we have up B, and that's like the most consistent punish ever, because sometimes even if you release up B early, you'll just armor through the Nair. So it's honestly like such a consistent punish. We're just so much faster. We can honestly outrange Byleth too, which is really funny because our Nair outranges hers. So if you both go for Nair at the same time, you're going to always win. So just make sure you're not running into forward airs. That's like the biggest thing. Byleth is going to try and just zone you out. So just play right outside that burst range. The only thing they can really do is just try and call you out with a dash attack, but that's like really unsafe, and they don't really get anything off of it other than killing at very high percent. So Byleth is going to go for juggles a lot, going to go for those edge guards. When recovering against Byleth, I'd say if they're going for the uppy thing, try and just recover like super early. Like try and get to the ledge before they can grab ledge, drop down uppy. Like that's quite a long time for them to do that. So if you're able to recover just before any of that crap, definitely do that. And then if they do manage to get it, then try and stall with like slow falling and jump, and then mix in fast falls. Just try and change the timing of your uppy. It's honestly pretty free if you've burned all your resources. So just try and use them at like the most random time you can, because I've tried doing it on the CPU in training mode with it mixed samples recovery, and it's honestly like way harder to hit up B on Roy than it is on like any Roy player I play in bracket. So just make sure you mix up your options, even if it doesn't make sense. Like you're gonna die anyway, so just make sure you're mixing them up. But other than off stage, the matchup is low-key pretty good for Roy. Just watch out for ledge reversals too with up B. Don't run up jab a lot, because then Byleth will up B off ledge, so just watch out for that. And then other than that, I think it's pretty winning. But because of those things, I'm gonna say even, just to be optimistic, because you know, I want to support my boy Byleth. But yeah, it's probably like slight win. You know, for the sake of this matchup, try I'll go slight win, but definitely one of the harder matchups in slight win. Pac-Man. Pac-Man, we definitely beat Pac-Man for sure. I'm gonna put it in slight win. Pac-Man gonna be a zoner, but not honestly that annoying, because we're just really fast. We can grab his projectiles if you're ready for it. And you can also play this matchup very slow too. So there's different variants how you can play this matchup, which is really useful. I would in general recommend staying really low to the ground, whether you're playing fast or slow, because Pac-Man is going to try and anti-air you. He's going to try and place hydrants, all that. And if you're grounded, it's a lot harder to do that. Just be really nimble. You can stay out of Pac-Man's burst range and then not be in threat of really anything, like we saw Goblin do to T at that one Summit set, which is one of my favorite sets of Roy. This because it really showcases how campy Roy, I guess, if you want to call it that. It's still not really camping, but you know what I mean. Like, slower Roy can actually be really, really strong. And this matchup definitely can showcase that quite a bit. A lot of his stuff is really safe, though, so you're not really going to get punished out of shield. But if he gets close to you, it's honestly good for you anyway. So I'd say just watch what the Pac-Man's doing. play at whatever pace you think is appropriate, and then just make sure you're teching the stage spikes from either back air, down air, or hydrant off stage. That's really important. And then yeah, we ledge trap this character, and the neutral's pretty good. So yeah, I would say slight win, but Pac-Man does have some things like edgeguard setups that are annoying, but as long as you're avoiding those, we definitely win. So for Yoshi, it's gonna be a pretty simple matchup. A lot of anti-airs. I like to use Nair quite a bit in this matchup. If you cross him up, he kind of doesn't really have any punishes because Nair doesn't hit far enough. So I like to use a lot of Nair. Down tilt to poke his shield, because you have to be careful because of Nair. And then if he's in the air, he does have that double jump. So just make sure your combos are all either super true or you're baiting and punishing the jump. And then ledge trapping, I would say Yoshis do like to jump quite a bit. Sometimes they jump with egg. So putting out a hitbox like a back air or a side B to eat the egg and hit him is generally pretty solid. And then I also like to grab this character a lot too, because a lot of Yoshis like to shield. But it's a pretty simple winning matchup, honestly. We just outrange him. I think we're just like a slightly more consistent damage dealer as well. But yeah, Yoshi, definitely a little bit annoying at times, but winning for sure. So for Corrin, I definitely think we beat Corrin for sure, despite what you might think when watching Cola Shattuck. That one run where Shattuck was beating him a bunch, I do definitely think we still beat Corrin. So the key to this matchup is definitely making use of your speed, because Corrin is a pretty good character. I think she's about as good as Roy, but what do we have over Corrin? We have speed, which is like the biggest thing. And what does Corrin not have? Out of shield options. So you want to be just endlessly pressuring Corrin's shield. You want to be moving right in that uncomfortable range where Corrin might want to go for like a pin read or might want to go for a committal jump. You want to be playing exactly where the Corrin doesn't want you to be playing, and you want to basically just stay in that burst range the entire game and always be threatening things. Always just do pokes at the shield and dash back. I find that really, really good. Don't play too aerial based, because Corrin will catch on that really quick and then start anti-airing you, and then that's a pain, honestly. Yeah, getting juggle in this matchup is pretty bad. We're a fast faller, so all of our frame traps are like super true, which is really annoying. We can't really drift that differently too, because our air acceleration is really garbage, which sucks. So we're gonna get comboed and advantage stated like forever. But honestly, I think neutral is pretty good for Roy, despite the Corrin players being really good at it. I think that if you're just careful and watch the Corrin, they're going to be going for the same reads over and over again because of their lack of speed. So they're going to try and compensate in other ways. So if you can pinpoint those ways and then deal with them, it's really good. And then when you're recovering, make sure that you're careful of pin. It's like way more broken than you think it is. So make sure you're mixing up that jump timing, those fast fall timings, those like preemptive snaps. It's really, really solid. Her stuff's all safe, so you're never really going to get up Bs, but look out for parries, because then that'll allow you to punish, which is really good. And then I also kind of like spamming down tilt against this character, because she gets tech chased like really easily, I find. It's like something about her rolls, like she has like really bad rolls or something. I don't know what it is, but I find tech chases just are super consistent against Corrin, and just the other sorties as well, like Marcina, like kind of like the floatier sorties. Not exactly sure what the property is, but I do recommend going for down tilt quite a bit. So yeah, even MU. Sheik. I'm going to put Sheik in slight win. We have better damage, better combos, better consistency, basically just better everything. The only thing that Sheik has is needles are very, very annoying, and she ledge traps us really, really hard. Those are the main two things. I think Roy is also significantly easier of a character, which even at top level, when players are masters of their character, the amount of mental energy it takes when playing Sheik versus Roy is honestly enough to where I'd say it's winning and not even. That's like kind of crazy, but I think the mental energy is the difference maker. I kind of used to think this matchup was even, just because Roy gets comboed really hard. The neutral is honestly not that easy, and Corrin's combo game on Roy can be pretty nasty. But I think we win just off the principle of if we play really slow, we get way more damage off each neutral win unless we're at like a very specific percent and distance on the stage. So I would say just be careful with your positioning around like the 20 to 30% mark. If you're near a platform, that's like where they want you. But if you just play this matchup honestly slow, then the Sheik will just start needles camping you, and then she'll get like 2% off each neutral win, or like 10% if they get needles dash attack. And then if you get in, then you get like down tilt, tech chase, you get nair into a billion damage, you get jab side B, you get grabs, you get just a whole bunch of good stuff. So this matchup is all about minimizing their neutral wins, and then when you get yours, just be explosive. You're never really going to advantage state or combo Sheik that hard, just because she has a frame 2 air dodge, I believe, and also she's just like really nimble and hard to hit. But I think we still consistently do more damage per neutral win, and if you exhaust like their mental energy during the set, then I find that really, really good. Like Sheik will just burn out because the character takes so much mental energy to play. So yeah, for that reason, I think it's slight win. Olimar. So I don't have too much experience against this character, honestly. So take what I say with a grain of salt. But from what I tell, it's pretty good for Roy, honestly. I'd have it in probably like one of the highest slight wins. I don't think it's quite in like Robin or Zelda like territory, but it's definitely a really, really solid matchup. Everyone knows that sword fighters are really, really good against Olimar, and Roy is no different. He gets the Pikmin off really easily, and Olimar is just super stubby. I have fought pretty good Olimars online though, but again, that's online. Probably matchup's a lot better offline. Sometimes it can be really annoying when they're just mashing Pikmin, and you try and play more reaction based, and they just keep preemptively just throwing up Pikmin. But those are all things that are easier offline. So I'm just going to assume that the matchup is even better offline, because I still think Roy beats Olimar online, but I'm assuming it's even better offline. You just kill him super early. Olimar's really stubby. There's not much to it. Just try not to run into Pikmin as much as you can, and then just learn the Pikmin cycle. It's a lot of just like general Olimar matchup knowledge, not as much Roy specific. Roy's just like fast, swordy, outranges him, all that. Really, really solid. Try and get a lot of side Bs and Jairs at ledge. Those are just going to delete Olimar. You can also edgeguard him too if you get low and grab ledge. You can go for back airs. But in general, yeah, just make sure that you're not getting red with Pikmin and that you learn the matchup and what the Pikmin do. So yeah, I would say we beat Olimar pretty handedly. Hero. We definitely beat Hero as well. In fact, there's a lot of really, really good Hero sets that you can watch because Kola and Mugen play versus Beast Mode Paul quite a bit. I think they all live like around the same region. So I see them playing at like majors all the time. I've definitely been validated in my opinion too based on the results. We definitely beat Hero for sure. This matchup is just like Olimar. You need to learn the Hero matchup. It's not as much like a Roy thing. Just learn how to read menu, learn what the spells do. Make sure you're not missing text off stage when they try and up-B you. Make sure that you're not trying to jump over menu and then getting crackle slashed. Just like things like that. If you can minimize menu as much as you can, like at its core, Roy is just the better sortie with better damage, better movement, better safety, faster moves, like literally everything. The only thing that's keeping this matchup from not being like unwinnable for Hero is just menu and then 2 frames. So as long as you try and minimize those things, the Hero players are going to try and hit you with matchup checks basically the entire game. So as long as you learn the Hero matchup specifically, then you should be good to go. Just learn learn like the kaboom timing on your trick getup, for example. Just like all these like tricks that they have. Just try and minimize the tricks. This matchup is basically just either the Hero cheeses you or you just win. So yeah, learn all the matchup tidbits. Same thing with Lucas. Gonna be another matchup check matchup sort of. There's quite a few of these where Roy is just the better character and then the opponent is just a cheeser or a matchup check, and then the only time the Roys lose usually is if they just don't know the matchup. So Lucas, just watch out for like the Zera cancels. That's the main thing that I try and do when I fight Lucases. And then they're gonna go for the down smash 2 frames, which honestly it's pretty annoying because it has 3 waves and all of them can hit you. But just try and time your up B to where it grabs in between or after the 3 waves. And then I like to sometimes up B first, even if I know I'm going to get hit, and then just save my jump and then recover after. Because they're probably not going to do another down smash. And then if you're at low enough percent, you can just jump over them and then punish too, which is really, really solid. We definitely juggle this character like really, really strong as well. I think that's definitely one of the biggest things you should take advantage of. If they start trying to go for downers and air dodge, just either juggle from the side or just try and bait the option. Yeah, Lucas, really, really floaty, doesn't have too much ways to get down. They also love to Zera Fledge too, so I like to jab early to try and catch that jump. And then just like the other matchups that I talked about earlier, just try not to get hit by the critical moves at the critical percents. He's a cheeser. Just try and minimize the cheese and you're just the better character. Speaking of cheesers, we got Mii Sword Fighter. So this matchup is basically the hero matchup, but honestly even more annoying because Swordy's cheese is a lot more obscure. Even I don't think anyone really fully understands this character. So this take could age really poorly, but I think it's been long enough since the video that I think I can still say that we confidently win this matchup, albeit only slightly, just because Swordy does have really good combos on Roy. All the combos you've seen on Twitter and stuff, they all work perfectly on Roy, which is really annoying. You can't like DI up and out like some floaty characters can, so you're just gonna take everything really hard. I know the Swordy players think they beat Roy, but I think they're kind of just on Hopium a little bit because we're still faster and we have more consistent kill power. They have honestly not the greatest get off me tools besides up B, which is like a huge commitment. All of Swordy's tilts are really good for combos, but they don't really get like Roy off of them really easily unless they're just down tilting the space. So I like to use a lot of whiff punishes, just try and read them down tilting and go for forward air, and then just be faster and just have more consistent kill power in general. So yeah, I'd say kind of an iffy matchup, but we definitely win for sure. All right, for Falco, this matchup, the best move in this matchup in my opinion is up B, which is kind of insane. But if you look at all of Falco's frame data, you'll notice one thing in common. All of his moves are kind of crap on shield. They're all like really unsafe, except for I think like up air, which like if Falco's pressuring you with landing up air, then you need to be anti-airing him instead of shielding. So you can up B basically everything Falco does, especially up tilt, forward air, nair, like all those are all up B-able, which is really, really good. I'm not quite sure if back air is, but that you can either look for parries or just disengage. When it comes to combos, they can be pretty annoying, definitely. Roy being a fast follower, all the IDJ nair strings and stuff, they all work really, really well. However, neutral, other than lasers, the neutral is just super easy for Roy. Just don't let yourself get conditioned off lasers. Don't align your approaches with how they're doing lasers because that'll make you very predictable. So just shield the lasers or threaten them if they laser to stop them from lasering, basically. I find I only lose this matchup when I don't, A, don't shield enough, B, I move in too preemptively, or C, I play the matchup I play the neutral according to how they laser. Those are the only three ways I ever lose this matchup. And I feel like those are very easy mistakes to fix. And if you don't make any of them, then this matchup is just straight winning. All right, let's do the links. I think, honestly, the easiest link for Roy to fight might surprise you. I think it's Young Link. I think the other two links are even, so I'll start with Young Link first. So you might think Young Link, oh, he has those fast arrows that can anti-approach Roy really well, right? The matchup must be way harder than the other links, right? Well, no. Young Link is actually low-key the most stubby link. It's kind of close between him and Toon Link, but Toon Link is really small and his tilts hit like really far. So Young Link sometimes just really struggles to box with Roy. Even though he's a pretty good boxing character, if Roy just plays at Sour Spot range, Young Link can't really do much. You can just try and spam projectiles, but then we have shields, and then you can jump over them, which is going to be the two best ways to deal with them. Same with Falco, trying to align your approaches with how they're shooting their projectiles. Try and deal with them at mid-range first, and then play in positions where you can always threaten to hit them. That's going to be really solid. That's honestly the best way to stop them from mashing, is just make them scared to press in the first place without committing as much as you can. And then once you get the hit, then it's going to be really, really good. He has pretty bad options out of a juggle. Honestly, all the links do. Toon Link can be kind of annoying with downer sometimes, but the other two links get juggled forever. They also get ledge trapped really hard too. So I think the reason why Young Link is the easiest is just because the other two links have more counterplay against Roy. So speaking of counterplay, Link. Link theoretically should be the easiest of the three, but in fact, I think he's the second hardest because he has like a lot of counterplay, like low-key like a lot. So for one, his safety on shield is a lot more than you might think. So you can never up B forward air, you can never up B nair. Back air, I think you can, but they're never going to do that for their main shield pressure. And then Boomerang is completely safe on shield as well. So low-key, sometimes Link can kind of mash on you, which can be really annoying. So you gotta, instead of shielding against those types of moves, that's when you have to anti-air him or just whiff punish him. But then if you're doing that a lot, then he'll start to throw out bomb, and then his doesn't explode immediately. So he can put it in an area where you want to threaten, and then just threaten to explode it himself, which is going to beat all your hitboxes, obviously, because you're moving into the bomb. It's not the worst situation ever. And then if you force him to start being preemptive with the bomb explosions, then you can just easily just dash back or whiff punish him, because bomb explosion has quite a bit of end lag. It was a lot more than people realize. There's a lot of times when I see Roy's or just anyone fighting Link, and they don't really recognize when they can punish bomb explosion. So it does have quite a bit of lag, so make sure you're punishing that. We ledge trap Link really, really hard. Link sucks at going off ledge. You just have to watch out for forward air off ledge, because if he lands low on your shield, it can be safe, but it's honestly pretty easy to parry, and the risk reward for him, especially if you're good at parrying, is not good. So the ledge trap is really, really easy. But on the flip side, Link ledge traps us pretty well and edge guards us really well with his bomb, because if Roy up-Bs the bomb, it just instantly explodes. So that's going to be really annoying. And then Link has all the facilities to cover you going high. So honestly, sometimes you just have to take the explosions and then just wait for him to mess up, and then try and save your jump as long as you can. There's the most to learn in this matchup compared to the other Links, but I think once you learn the stuff, it's easier than Toon Link. And then speaking of Toon Link, this matchup is less complicated than Link, but I do think it's worse. Specifically, Toon Link is very evasive. He's very hard to hit. Link is tall, so we can anti-air him and anti-approach him a lot easier than Toon Link. But where Toon Link isn't as good as Link is definitely going to be edge guarding and ledge trapping. I just think the neutral is a lot harder against Toon Link, because he has those fast arrows and fast boomerangs, but then he also is a lot better at boxing than Young Link, and he can just low profile like so many of Roy's moves. Like, neutral air is very useless, specifically in neutral in this matchup, because Toon Link is going to go for a lot of either high projectiles, which are not punishable through Nair, or he's just going to crouch and do F tilts and up tilts. So you got to watch out for that for sure. Low-key, this matchup is really annoying, but I think it's still even because we explode him, he's light, all that, kind of like the Olimar effect. Speaking of small characters that Nair is not that good against, we have Meta Knight. I'm going to put him in even. Actually, no, I'm going to put him in slight win. I think the edge guarding is like the only thing keeping this from being a super winning matchup. Roy does get comboed pretty hard, but he combos Meta Knight really hard as well, which is really, really good. Neutral is honestly pretty free for Roy. Meta Knight is kind of just like a cheeser character similar to Byleth, where the only reason it's not like super winning is because like their cheese is very valid and it's very annoying. So just watch out for those critical combo percents. Try and mix up your recovery the same way as I've been mentioning before, and then make sure you're getting the most out of your ledge traps in neutral wins against Meta Knight. Honestly, I don't know too much about the Mega Man matchup. I've watched like one VOD of it ever, and I've played it probably like a handful of times online. There's no Mega Mans in my region at all. For what I can tell, Mega Man requires very specific neutral wins to really get those explosive combos or like huge kill confirms. He's just mostly going to be annoying instead of broken. He's going to be shooting a lot of pellets. If he goes for timeout against Roy, Roy is just fast, so honestly, it's hard for him to even get the lead to do that. But if he does, just try and close the distance with shield as much as you can and just not give him those huge openings. Because Mega Man can punish Roy for running in very, very well. So you got to make sure you're mixing in those jumps, either full hop or short hop. Do a lot of empty hops. Try and force him to play committal, because Mega Man is generally not that committal, which can make him really annoying to fight. But if you force him to try and make those big commitments, that'll be really good for you. I see Cola doing that a lot. Like the match will start, and the Mega Man, usually Peebnut, will be very passive and try and just put on slow damage, and then Cola will just get like 1 or 2 neutral wins and then just be in the lead. And then slowly the Mega Man players start going for more reads, which make him a lot more unsafe. And then Roy can really open him up after that. Like if Mega Man is approaching you, then you've basically won the matchup. That's how I see it. So yeah, I'm probably not the greatest source of information on this matchup, but if you're able to watch VODs, I say that's the best way to learn this matchup. But from what I've seen, I think we do win. Me Gunner, it's going to be a slight win as well. Probably noticing a pattern. Roy slightly beats a lot of characters. I think when it comes to Me Gunner, it's all about learning how to deal with that bomb that's like plus on shield. I forget what it's called, but it's like the really slow neutral B bomb. But basically the key to dealing with that is to swing at it and not shield it or avoid it. Because if you shield it, you're gonna get shield grab, you're gonna get grabbed because it's like plus 12 or something ridiculous like that. And then if you try and play too evasively, they'll just take space or it'll end up just hitting you. So you can just swat it with forward air, which is going to be really useful. And then once you get on Mii Gunner, low key, Mii Gunner is like the character that has the worst disadvantage against Roy probably in the game. Mii Gunner gets like super juggled, super ledge trapped, just like comboed forever. All of the combos kill like super easily on Mii Gunner. He's like not that heavy, which is kind of weird because you would think he'd be a little bit heavier, but Mii Gunner is not that heavy. The only thing, honestly, that's annoying in this matchup is getting ledge trapped. It's a little bit like Samus. There's not really a like one size fits all solution for how to get out of it. You just gotta try and either jump or roll in between them firing that neutral B. That's like generally the way that I find. And if they're running like the Samus neutral B, like the charge shot, then at that point it's a lot easier to get off ledge. You just gotta play it like the Samus ledge trapping, just a little bit easier, honestly, in every way. Sometimes you do have to take the bomb reset, but that's annoying, but it's just whatever, like 8%, and then you reset ledge. It's a lot better than jumping into the bomb and then getting bomb plus neutral bead and then taking like 35 damage. So just play it like you do a Samus ledge trap. And actually on that note, I'll go over Samus too, just because it's a very similar matchup, but it's honestly a lot worse. I'd say it's even, because Samus is like Mii Gunner, but her neutral wins can kill and they do a lot more damage, and she's just a better character like in every single way basically. She also gets blown up, but not as hard as Mii Gunner because her down B is kind of hard to juggle sometimes and can be really slippery. If Roy shields a lot too, then her grab is really long, which can be really annoying. So this is another matchup where I'd say watch VODs. Like, see what the Roy players do, see how they change their pacing, because pacing is the key in this matchup. It's kind of, it's hard, but you're able to play close range without getting grabbed if you make them scared of grabbing. And the way you do that is by spot dodging it and then getting like a huge punish, or just always starting to dash back, because Roy's fast enough to consistently whiff punish Samus grab on reaction. So if you can get the Samus scared of grabbing, then everything else just becomes a lot easier. And then getting off ledge is really, really bad. It's very unfun and it's very broken, and I hate it. It is very annoying. The bombs can I think there's ways to cover every single option. Just recognize when you can take the hit and reset to get your ledge invincibility back, and then recognize when they want to run up tilt to hit your ledge hang, and then just pick your option on reaction when they start their dash. That's honestly, it's kind of messed up because then they just dash back and kill you. But if they're being predictable, like try and poke holes wherever you can, because Samus can low-key ledge trap you forever if they're playing it like absolutely perfect. So just try and find holes where you can. Try and jump in between bomb explosions if they place them bad. Just try and find your way over the ledge whenever you can. Don't get hungry for reversals too, because you're never ever going to get them. And yeah, this matchup is not that fun. It's very scary, but we have the strength to hit Samus back, and it's very hard when Samus gets in the air. So yeah, even. All right, Sora. I'm going to put Sora in even as well. This matchup is very unfun as well. I really don't like playing against Sora. I just think he's like Luigi, but not as much of a disadvantage, which is really annoying. It's kind of fun to body Luigi, but Sora low-key can minimize a lot of the damage that Roy gets. Very hard to ledge trap Sora. Sora kind of just is always just threatening risk reward and just like spamming risk reward the entire game. It's honestly pretty cheesy. I don't like Sora at all. His character's design is like really lame, but at the end of the day, it's definitely still not a bad matchup. I'd say even, just because Sora's really light. He gets hit really hard. He dies really, really early to jab back air. He dies really, really early to F tilt. If you force him to nair first and then you nair, you can whiff punish his nair with nair, which is really good. If he lands predictably with nair, you can up B it, but then they can just adjust their timing and drift it away. So you can't really consistently punish it. But if you force them to start doing it at certain timings, then you can get up Bs. I also like to just randomly run up down tilt too, because the Sora players like to just run around and threaten stuff. So just breaking that cycle of trying to bait them to go first sometimes is really good. Because if you start running up with down tilts, then what are they going to want you to whiff punish at? They're going to want to nair, right? So you can try and bait them into nairing first to allow you to more easily whiff punish their nair by doing a down tilt. So you can kind of do like phantom moves to try and get Sora to commit, because the Sora by default will want to play very non-committal. They're going to want to use a lot of neutral Bs. They're going to want to be using a lot of Nair drift backs, a lot of just down tilt and into dash back. So you can be kind of, you have to use your speed a lot, right? To try and bait the Sora to do the moves. And then Sora also doesn't have very good out of shield options other than Nair. So you can use a lot of down tilt on shields. You can use a lot of forward air, but just be careful with jab, because I think they can Nair that out of shields. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure they can Nair jab. So you just gotta be careful when mashing jab. But other than that, I think we do have the resources to make it even, but the combos and the edge guarding and how hard he is to ledge trap is definitely really annoying. Shulk, even. So Shulk is basically Lucina, but turned up to 1,000, and I think that makes it even. He has probably the best edge guarding in the game against Roy. I'd say even better than the Rats, which is kind of crazy. Forward air and the mix of forward air, counter, down or 2 frames. It's like really, really, really hard to make it back. The only consistent ways I've found is to either up B super, super early to try and hit them going for forward air, or to go really low with side B stalling and then jump up B like as low as you can. But the problem with that is if they read that and then just overshoot the forward air, then you're super dead because you went low and used your jump, right? So it's honestly, I would say 80% of the time, recover high, like drift high, and then either air dodge in or do an early up B. And then that last 20% of the time, go like super low. Like don't ever recover in like the mid range, because that's the easiest to forward air or counter. Either go super, super low or super, super high. And then try and bait them to want to cover you recovering high preemptively, because if they commit to anything, then you've basically won the offstage, like the matchup offstage. Like how they're going to want to play is as non-committal as possible. So if you expand your mix-up game as far as you can, then that's definitely going to be the way for sure. You can also, on rare occasion, counter their forward air if you're in a spot where you don't have any other option, but they can just easily whiff punish that, so you got to be careful. So yeah, offstage is very annoying. Shulk can also ledge trap Roy really well too, because Roy never gets aggression off ledge because of forward air. And then Roy's neutral get up and roll can both be hit with up smash. So they're going to be charging up smash a lot. So just make sure you're not buffering your get up options unless they're threatening to hit your ledge hang. Try and react to what they do. In my experience, they'll do like a few forward airs to try and bait you into get upping, and then they'll just start charging up smash. So try and counterplay that setup by either waiting, or if you think they're going to swing another forward to hit ledge hang, then just like roll or something. Like choose your ledge option then. So that's basically the main focus of the matchup, is just minimizing dying off stage. And then once you get on stage, you're just faster. You have better frame data. Your moves are safe enough to not get up-beat, which is really good. Shulk's up B's frame 10, so your jab is going to be -9, which is going to be safe. Down tilt's going to be safe, obviously. Forward air jab is safe pressure, which is like really broken. Like honestly, it's really, really useful. Shulk can't ever really like juggle you because we have enough air drift to avoid up air pretty consistently. So neutral is pretty good. It's just off stage is really annoying. And then you got to watch out for shield Monados out of combos into reversals. So like for example, if you get down throw at 0, he'll shield Monado before you nair, and then he can reversal you because you're so low percent. So in that situation, I would say go for down throw jab and then try and read what he does. If he air dodges, you can just side B. If he jumps, then you start juggle. Or if he shields, then you just like reset the situation or just do whatever option. This matchup is honestly just, it's decided off stage. So just make sure that you're doing good on those mix-ups. I have Pokemon Trainer and Slight Win. Neutral is honestly pretty easy unless it's versus Squirtle. So I'm going to explain Squirtle for most of this just because, I mean, all the characters have their little things about them, but Squirtle's definitely the most annoying. So it's going to be a lot of movement, I find, against Squirtle because we're ever so slightly faster. Like in movement wise, not like frame data, like Squirtle's obviously faster frame data, but we're faster just pure movement and run speed. So what I like to do is I like to try and meet their F tilts with either our down tilt or our side B. And then once they get used to that, then I'll start doing forward airs to try and catch their jumps. I never really use Nair in this matchup like ever. It's basically just a forward air matchup, and then you want to start shield pressure. The most annoying way they can play is just super evasive and then just throwing out an F tilt randomly or throwing out a grab randomly to just try and hit your movement and then start a combo. So just trying to break them out of that cycle of just F tilt camping. And then once they start jumping, then you can start getting those forward airs. Then you can start using Nair in that case if you're sure they're going to jump. But Squirtle, just about forcing them to not play that bait and punish game that Squirtle wants to play. And then against the other two Pokemon, Charizard's pretty free. Just watch out for those early kill moves like Up Smash and then Up Yoda Shield. Up Yoda Shield is armor, so just make sure you're not doing like jabs too much to where they become stale. And then against Ivysaur, it's pretty simple. You just make sure you're not getting hit by too many Razor Leafs. And then against Downer off stage, just try and switch up your timings as much as you can. Try and delay your jump. Mix in those early recoveries, just the same thing you do against those other 2-frame characters. But yeah, as long as you're able to minimize Squirtle damage, then this matchup's definitely winning. So for Ness, I should have covered this when I talked about Lucas, but this matchup is actually pretty different to Lucas, so it doesn't really matter. Literally the only similarity they have is that they're both small, so Nair doesn't hit them, like hit them when they're running, which is annoying. They are kind of jumpers though, so Nair is definitely still a move I would recommend using in neutral. But most of the neutral in this matchup is just going to be down tilt into dash back into react what they do, and then just forward air. So you're going to fight them a little bit like Squirtle in that way. If you bring them to a duoplat stage, then they're going to want to do PK fire cancels. So my favorite way to combat that is to do full hop onto the Nair to try full hop Nair onto the platform to try and read it, because it calls them out. It's like pretty low committal because you can just jump after and it's hard to react to. And then if they shield, then you can just do drop down up air, and that's good pressure. They have really bad out of shield options too, especially Ness, because he doesn't have double jump cancel 0 to shields. So he's gonna really struggle. Make sure you're not getting footstool though, because he does have footstool, side B, and down B, which are annoying. But other than that, he gets like beaten so hard by down tilt. Down tilt jab is just true shield pressure too, which is always good to have. And then just remember, just down tilt Nair in neutral, those are gonna be your best friends. And then try and force him to either start full hopping, which is going to be super committal, or to just start fishing for PK fire, into which case you can whiff punish it or you can just reset. So try and get a feel for what the Ness likes to do in neutral, because they all play it like kind of the same way but with like slight variation. And then yeah, the most annoying thing about this matchup is definitely going to be down smash and up smash off stage. Honestly, I don't know what the hell you're supposed to do against those moves, like for the most part, other than just trying to mix up your timing, because up being high is never going to work because it just gets caught anyway, because like the charge is a hitbox. So honestly, sometimes you're kind of just dead, which sucks. It's really bad, but just really try and knock it off stage as much as you can. That's like the best advice I'd have, because it can be really annoying. I think there might be like one angle around like the 45 degree that works, but honestly, I try and get it, but I just get hit anyway. So it might be a mistake that I'm making, but the neutral in this matchup is really, really good. So as long as you're playing in positions where you can be easily hit off stage at mid%, then that's definitely good. I have Wolf in slight win. Wolf is kind of similar to Roy in the way that he moves in neutral, just with Blaster and without a sword. That's like the best way I think of this matchup is you minimize Blaster in the same way that you minimize Falco Laser, and then you're kind of just the better character, like speed, damage, and consistency wise, like after that. So don't align your approaches with neutral B. Try and separate the two. That's like the best analogy I have against those kind of spammy neutral B characters. I like to use a lot of Nair in this matchup. I think that's the biggest thing to remember. Nair is really, really good, because Wolf lacks out of shield options from behind because his back air is not really usable out of shield. And then he has up smash, which it only hits like kind of close to him. So cross up Nairing him is really, really good. It's also good because Wolf likes to jump a lot. And sometimes if you do a short hop Nair, it'll just cover full hop anyway. Like if he tries to do full hop Nair himself, sometimes yours will just win. Most of the time it won't, but sometimes I'm surprised by how it stuffs out full hop. So I like to use a lot of Nair. If he goes for Blaster, down tilt can kind of just get stuffed a lot. So I like to play very aerial based. If you're noticing him full hop, because he'll start to do that after he uses lasers and it doesn't work out, then you can react with short up air, or you can anticipate it with either full up forward air into whatever, or just Nairing like before. If you're able to parry Nair, it's really good because you get jab. So it's gonna be a really, really good punish. Play according to how he plays too. Once you minimize laser, just see what they do. See if he starts trying to whiff punish you. See if he starts just spamming full hop Nair. And then just play accordingly to that. And then watch out for reversals off ledge too, because he gets a lot of forward air. Recovering, you should be good most of the time. The only two things that he has that's annoying is going to be Nair to trade with up B. And then the solution to that is just go lower and force a stage spike and tech the Nair. And then if he goes for down smash, going low is the worst option because it gives him the most, it gives him the highest window to get the 2-frame. I like to try and go for like a 60-degree angle. I find that's the best because a 45-degree angle, he can get it pretty easily. And then if you go low, then he gets all the frames because your up B hasn't popped up yet. So try and recover around that 60-degree angle. But I think he does have a way to kill you every time if he gets the exact timing. But in my experience, if you mix up the angle around the 45-degree to 60-degree angle, that's usually gonna be your best bet. And then, like other characters, make sure you're juggling him a lot too. So yeah, we definitely beat him. Ryu and Ken. So I'm gonna put those both in slight win as well. I think Ken is probably the harder matchup of the two. I'd almost have Ryu in +2, honestly, but I think he has just like a bit too much cheese to put him in +2. Ken is gonna have better movement than Ryu. He's gonna have a little bit more consistent, like fast pressure, which is gonna be annoying. I would say I like up B out of shield a lot against the pressure, but they have ways to mix up around it if they shield or if they dash back. But what's good about that is they're now breaking their pressure, right? If they're dashing back or shielding, they're picking a defensive option. So I would say make sure that they're scared of up B. Like, don't just never use it, even though it's kind of dangerous. Make sure they're scared of it. And then when they choose a defensive option, that's when you can like roll away or disengage. I would say try not to get into that shield situation in the first place for the most part. I like to use Nair a lot because they don't have the greatest out of shield options unless they parry. All the Shoto players are like parry fishers, like every single one I've ever played against. So if you're gonna use Nair like that, just make sure that they're not ready for it and not just parrying it every single time. I like to do a lot of empty land down tilts too because they like to try and fish for parries on fair because they know that their out of shield game sucks. So I do like to do those empty lands a lot. And then if they're using their initial Bs, either just swat it or jump. It's honestly pretty bad in the matchup. It can be kind of annoying with Ryu, but if you're ready for it and not mashing, then it should never be an issue. And then we ledge trap these characters really, really hard, like really hard. Just make sure you're doing your classic, you know, jab and dash back pressure and stuff. And they have really bad jump off ledge and neutral get-ups. Juggle them a lot as well. Just make sure you're watching out for focus attack if they're low to the ground. If they're high though, you can do up air and then fast fall before they can hit you with focus, which is really good. If they let you edgeguard them, try and do it as well. But if they're recovering super low, honestly, most of the time you can't really deal with it. You can try and go for down or 2 frames. I've seen some Roys have success with that, but for me, I find the timing, they have like way too much timing mix-ups on their up B to get it consistently. But if you see holes in the way that they're recovering, then absolutely take advantage of it. But in general, I think you want to play this matchup at a range. You want to try and bait them to attack first because Shoto players, they love to do their full hop Nairs. They love to do their run up down tilts. So they're going to be looking for the same approach options because they know that their approach game sucks. So if you're able to call out those options and then start a combo, then this can be really, really good against them. Also, it kind of goes without saying, but learn the anti-Shoto tech, like the universal tech, like the SDI against Ken's up B, and then just know the frame data of all their tilts and stuff. So it's not going to be particular to Roy in that sense, but just make sure that you're not getting matchup checked like kind of some of the other ones in slight win. Real quickly, I'm just going to make another tier here, I think, because slight win is getting very crowded. I'm going to call it decent win. So I'm just going to bump some characters up here just because it's very loaded in slight win. I'm going to bump Lucario up. I'm going to bump Wii Fit up. I'm going to bump Rosa up. I'm going to bump ZSS up. Olimar, Plant, Little Mac, Ike, Bowser Jr., Dr. Mario, Hero, and K-Rool. I think that's pretty good. And I'll also put Pac-Man. I think he's a decent win. Okay, that's a little more balanced now. All right, back to the matchups. Let's see. I'll do Terry because we're just on the topic of FGCs. I'll have Terry in even. He's definitely the second hardest FGC behind Kazuya. Spoilers, I mean, I'm sure everyone's expecting that to be not that good. But Terry, he has a little bit more threatening neutral in general, which I think is the reason why it's even instead of winning. Yeah, he's like, if the Shotos had approach options that were very threatening, and then Go Meter can also just be a cheese move, and it's annoying. So learn the frame data just like the others. It's honestly even more important against Terry because the jab pressure and shield can be really deadly. I mean, it is with the others too, but it can be really, really annoying to deal with. Make sure you're not falling for the power dunk auto cancel as well. Just general matchup tidbits for the most part. We also ledge trap him really hard as well. Same thing as the others. You can ledge trap him. You can edge guard him rather as well. Honestly, a little bit more than the others on occasion. Just watch how the Terry's recovering. A lot of their moves are very susceptible to forward air. Use a lot of down tilt in this matchup because Terry gets tech chased hard and you can't punch out a shield even if he parries, which is really, really solid. And then I find Terry players like to shield a lot too, so just make sure you're getting those grabs in. He gets comboed really, really well. And then same as the Shotos, just end up looking for those anti-airs once they start jumping. So yeah, even. Rob, I'm also gonna have even as well. Sometimes it feels like we beat Rob, but then the Rob player just actually starts doing their combos, or actually starts footslowing out a shield, or actually starts hitting their down airs. So to be honest, as much as it might seem like this matchup is winning, it's definitely even in my opinion. I think Rob just has way too many ways to cheese Roy. That the fact that Roy fundamentally wins neutral and is the better character in the matchup most of the time. The fact that 10% of the time is like super consistent death is honestly a huge deal. Like he edgeguards us low-key like some of the hardest in the game. He juggles us pretty well. His combos all work really well. It's a lot harder than you think to juggle him too, because Nair just stuffs out up air sometimes because that move is broken. So what I like to do in this matchup is a lot of waiting for him to full hop and then punishing, and by doing that is dashing in, shielding to try and eat the projectiles or try and bait him to jump. And then if he starts down tilting, I like to try and nair it. That's like the most consistent pressure because even if he shields it, you're crossing up Rob, who has very few out of shield options from behind. Up smash is frame 10, so you can jab safely on his shield, which is going to be really, really solid. Make sure that you're watching out for those critical hits at the critical percents, just like a bunch of other matchups. And then try and adjust your uppy height against down air and not recover too much of that mid-range because he can throw out unreactable down Bs and neutral Bs. So yeah, just take advantage of the fact he's really easy to combo. Try and get those jab F smashes, get that shield pressure in because his two biggest weaknesses are combo ability and shield pressure. So just try and exploit those as much as you can. Try and read when he's going to jump and do either sharp up airs or try and parry the nair. And then you should be good to go. Just hope that they're not on their cheese game. I'm going to have Mario in even as well. Might surprise you because most people think that Swordies beat Mario pretty consistently. I would say for this matchup, Roy is one of like the weaker Swordies at being like a Swordie in the matchup. A lot of the times you actually want to play at the range that Mario wants to play at, which can be kind of annoying. He cheeses Roy like really hard, unfortunately. There's like DI mix-ups you can do on upper forward air, but he has ways to deal with almost all of them in most cases. So just try not to get hit by either grab or up air at like 35% near the ledge, and you should be good with that. Also, just make sure you're banning the correct bans. I'll put the bans up like I do with all the other characters, but make sure you're not giving him either Battlefields or Hollow Bastion or Small. Those are the ones I would say to generally avoid. Try and get the stage with the higher ceilings. If he leaves any of the Animal Crossings open, always take him there. Hollow Bastion, Smashville is just like a better Hollow Bastion in the matchup for Roy. If he starts spamming Fireball in neutral, either avoid it or try and forward air it to hit him. If the Fireball's landing and he's in the air, then forward air will clank with it, which is not good for us. But if you forward air him while he does it, like if you do full up forward air, try and read him jumping, then that's really, really good. If you shield the Fireball, you can go for an up B read to try and armor through Nair, which is gonna be really good. But if you don't do that, then it's unpunishable. So you can just roll out after, like whatever. Yeah, the main things are just going to be utilize the fact that you're a Swordie and just try and avoid the cheese as much as you can. Also, don't let him get floods. Just go super low every time. If he starts trying to read you going low with cape, then he's committing off stage, and then you can generally react to him walking up. because he's gonna be at like roll distance, and then if he walks up to try and cape you, you can just air dodge. So it's pretty simple. I don't find his edge guarding is that annoying. It's mostly, it's not even his ledge trapping either. It's just like the combo ability. And even if you're actively focusing on not getting hit by the cheese moves, then you're playing at like sour spot range, and then he'll just eventually find one anyway, because all your neutral wins will basically lead to nothing. So even the best Roys get hit with the cheese. So just try and minimize it as much as you can, and then just utilize the fact that you're swordy and that you juggle him really hard. Sonic. I'm gonna have Sonic in even. So Roy is one of the best characters in the game against Sonic in my opinion. And I mean, Sonic's broken. Even though it's even, I still think Roy is one of the best. I think it's just a combination of us having certain options to actually call out spin dash. If you can read him spin dashing, you can get a side B and sometimes have a sweet spot side B, which is really, really good. You can also try and time a down tilt to where he spin dashes. And then if ever you don't want to be that aggressive, you can just jump back and do like a retreating aerial and then catch him if he does spin jump, which is gonna be really, really good. Also, if he spin dashes your shields, then try and disengage. Like, don't get too greedy for punishes. Where you're gonna make your money in this matchup is mostly gonna be ledge trapping, to where Sonic does have good options in drop down up B into back air or drop down forward air, or he has like a pretty solid jump from ledge. So it can be kind of annoying, but a good set to watch is Spargo at the most recent Gommel. I saw that set live, and I think it's like the best ledge trapping I've seen Roy do against Sonic. So if you're stuck on the ledge, if you're stuck ledge trapping Sonic, then definitely check out that set. Watch out for like 0% combos too. If he gets a grab, it can lead into a lot because Roy's a fast faller, so he's super easy to combo. And then just be careful off stage as much as you can. He'll go for that for the stage spikes a lot with back air or homing attack. So just be ready to tech those when recovering. And then try and the main recovery route I like to do against Sonic is try and forward air the spring or forward air him, and then just recover low. That's the way I like to do it, because if you jump, they're always going to be looking for spring back air to catch the jump. So I would say most of the time, either do jump nair dodge up B, or do that like forward air to swing the spring and then jump up B. And then just be ready to tech either the spring, the back air, or the homing attack. But yeah, I think just a combination of Sonic being broken, spin dash still being hard to deal with, and the edge guarding, I think keeps it in even. But low-key, Roy has like some of the best tools and, you know, juggling, ledge trapping against Sonic. So definitely good pick against Sonic for sure. All right, final even matchup, we have Peach. So Peach kind of has the Sheik effect a little bit, where Peach is a lot more mentally taxing on your opponent, which is going to be really, really good. If you out mental energy them at the end of like a game 5 set, like you're going to be way less mentally tired than the Peach. So that's going to be a good advantage. If they start to slip up with their float movement, then I like to use a lot of nairs to anti-air them, or use full up forward air to try and call out their full hop floats. If you know anything about Peach, they kind of like to float at 2 different heights, either at full hop height where they'll do down air, or just fish for stalling into landing nair to punish like Roy doing like a run up down tilt or something. So just make sure that your approaches are not getting too obvious, and make sure that they're not calling you out with just like float back into something. Peach is going to try and whiff punish you a lot. They're going to try and bait you into swinging. So mix in shield, even though a lot of her stuff's unpunishable, and then try and go for those callouts. And then I like to go for down tilt too, just to control the space, but make sure that you're not getting it called out. And then you can do that same thing too, where you bait them into jumping by doing down tilts and then punishing. So take advantage of the fact that Peach is super floaty. She's really, really easy to juggle, and I think that's actually like the biggest thing in the matchup probably, is making sure that you're juggling Peach. She's super floaty, her air dodge sucks, her down air is like, it doesn't hit very low. So really all that she can do is just try and go to ledge. So you can position yourself near ledge and then continue the juggle. And then make sure you're not getting comboed too hard either. The turnip chains are really good. I don't think you can DI them at all, so just trying to get hit by them in the first place. And then when you're on ledge, it's weird. I like to do a lot of reversal options against Peach, because she's like to whiff punish her options, like her backers and stuff. But she can spam float backers like really quick, and it can be very deadly if you get hit over your jump, because then it's just turnip, just closes out your up B super easily. So just be careful of not overusing aggression off ledge, but I'd still advise like sprinkling it in like here and there, because it's really good against Peach if she's not ready for it. But yeah, I'd say like the combos and the neutral being pretty difficult for Roy, I'd say would put in even. But just make sure you're getting your juggles and your ledge traps, and then you should be pretty decent. All right, time to get into some of the stinkers. So first up in -1, I'm gonna have Snake. So this matchup is really annoying, honestly. Sometimes it can feel not that bad, but if the Snake player is on their game and playing their game plan really well, then Roy can honestly just get locked out a lot, which is really annoying. He doesn't have the best options for dealing with Grenade or dealing with C4 or dealing with Nikita off stage. He kind of just gets snaked like really hard. The only thing he really has is speed, but that speed can kind of be not that useful sometimes if the Snake is zoning really well. So I would say just learn Snake counterplay, like universal Snake counterplay. Try and grab and throw a grenade back at them as much as possible. I could kind of rant about this matchup for like 10 minutes, honestly. It's one of the most like dense matchups in terms of matchup knowledge, but most of it is just universal stuff. So just make sure you're learning like a lot of the Snake counterplay. So I'll cover some of the Roy specific counterplay. So if he's Nikitaing off stage, the best way that I've found to deal with it is to either jump Nair dodge to get through it, or to forward air it, because if you didn't know, hitting Nikita actually weakens it quite a bit. So if you do forward air to hit the Nikita and then like up B high around it, then that's going to be a really good option. When it comes to ledge trapping, I like to do drop down Nair dodge through the up smashes if they're mashing up smash, or if you have the timing, then you can jump Nair dodge through it. But I really like drop down Nair dodge because Snake kind of struggles to punish it because he doesn't have like super fast reliable options other than up tilt. And if he's turned around, then you can't up tilt behind unless he like buffers a turnaround, which then he's like reading you, like, so just don't get red basically in that situation. But basically the most important thing in this matchup is going to be neutral and not getting hit by too many just like stray C4s or just straight grenades. So just make sure you keep like the explosion timing in their head, like watch how they cook their grenades and know when they're going to explode, and then just try and get in that way. Also, I like to grab Snake a lot because if you get close to him, a lot of the times, if he's holding a grenade especially, he'll start to turtle. So you can get those grabs. Wait till the grenade explodes before you do your throw, or else you're going to get hit like after your throw. The last thing I like to do against Snake, just to keep it short, is if you down throw him at like 40%, just start charging F smash. Like I'd say like 60% of the time, like the Snake player is just going to mash grenade out of hit stun, and then you just trade it with forward smash and kill them. So that's like a really good option. And then he also gets down tilt check chased as well, pretty well. So just go for those like pokes whenever you can. Try and bait grenade pull, and then just make sure that you've refined your grenade and anti-C4 gameplay basically against him in neutral. But yeah, it's a pretty annoying matchup. It's hard not to get up tilted. It's hard not to die off stage. It's hard not to just take damage in neutral infinitely. So just try and poke holes where you can. But yeah, it's definitely losing for sure. All right, next up in losing, I have Pyra/Mythra. This matchup is basically just them being a better sortie than you, and it kind of sucks just for that reason. So Mythra, a little bit faster, a little bit safer, a little bit better frame data. Her moves are just like a little bit bigger in important ways. Her Nair like generally beats Roy's because she's either going to do it from a full hop or she's going to do it whiff punishing. So fighting Mythra can be really annoying. The biggest thing, honestly, is Mythra has a dash attack and you don't. So at that specific burst range, in like the mid to long range where Mythra dash attack hits at the tip, is going to be really annoying because you don't have any options and they do. So my best advice is try and avoid that burst range altogether, and then either play just outside of her dash attack range and then threaten just like forward airs or run up down tilt or dash shielding, or just play really close. Like do one of those two things. Because where I find it starts to be rough is she'll do this unreactable, either dash attack, run up down tilt, run up grab, or do run up full hop Nair to land. And then if the Roy player is trying to attack out of that situation or shields, then he'll be hit with either shield pressure or just whiff punished or just hit outright. So anticipate them doing that. Play at like super long range or play close. If you're able to react to it, all her tilts are up-B-able, but they're like you may look at their numbers and think, oh, it's just easy up B, but they're all like so fast. Like the amount of total frames for like her up tilt, for example, is like very hard to react to. So if you're able to, then obviously punish accordingly. But yeah, neutral against Mythra is really bad. If you get the win though, you can do quite a bit of damage in juggling. But she's pretty quick in the air, so she can be tough to keep in disadvantage. But do whatever you can, try and land whatever combos you can. You're kind of just gonna have to accept that your character is just like a little bit worse in like every way other than killing. The one thing we do have is that Roy can randomly take some stocks with tech chases or just like ledge trapping, jab back air. Like the fact that Mythra will never, like should never kill you at early percent is really, really good. But at the same time, if they're just being aware of your cheese, then they're just going to be the better character for the entire game. Roy kind of does that to some characters as well, so it's just going to be a losing matchup at its core. So just try and be aware of how the Mythra wants to play neutral and just don't get called out like too much. And then just preserve your jump in juggles as much as you can as well. Sometimes you're going to have to take the hit against up air and you have to be okay with that. You're never going to get off scot-free, so just try and minimize the damage as much as you can. When recovering against Mythra up B as well, just the key is to try not to burn your double jump because they're going to try and hit you with like the sprinkles. So if you have your jump, you can go high in air dodge. But if not, just try and keep up being into the sprinkles and just don't waste your jump, basically, for that. Greninja. So Greninja, slight loss as well. This matchup is very annoying as well because Greninja is very evasive. He has the ability to whiff punish Roy super easily, which is going to be really good for him. He has very little out of shield options, which Roy can punish really, really well. So that's going to be the main thing to focus on, is to try and play it in a way where it makes Greninja want to shield or to jump. Because the Greninja is going to be trying to play with Punishy as much as they can with a lot of weak shurikens and a lot of just dashbacks. So try and take stage where you can, and then try and put him into a situation where he's going to either want to shield or jump, and then that's where neutral becomes a lot more doable. But it's really not easy to do that at all. And Greninja, if he's smart, he can avoid those situations pretty well because of his movement. And then I think the thing that puts it over the edge to be losing is the fact that Roy gets comboed and tech chased like really hard. It's really, really bad. There's almost no DI to get out of his combos just because Roy's like the perfect combo food. All of Greninja's kill confirms work super well. Roy can never, for example, he can never DI up to avoid down air up smash on platforms because he just falls so fast. He also gets edge guarded really hard as well. Like honestly, I'm more scared of getting edge guarded by Greninja than a lot of other characters, like even Sonic and Joker, for example. Like I'm more scared recovering against Greninja than any of those characters. It's a combination of counter if he reads you up being early, or back airs because it catches jump and he can always go low enough to cover you going super low. And then if you try and recover at the 45-degree angle, he can also up you as well to gimp you. So honestly, you're never going to be completely safe with one option, but just I think the most consistent way that I like to recover is if he's going for back airs or up B, like if he's in that area, try and do jump neutral air dodge. I think that's going to be the best option most of the time into up B. And then if he retreats back to ledge, then he's only looking for one thing. He's only looking for up B. So just make sure you're not up being preemptively, because then he's going to punish you with his up B. So just recognize his movement patterns because that indicates what he's looking for most of the time. Just make sure you're holding that up B as long as you can if he uses the water. And then if he's going for back airs, then jump nair dodge is your best option. Because even if you try and jump back, he can just read that with his jump. So he can kind of follow your movement really, really well. And he can go like way farther than you'd expect off stage. So just try and get air dodge with momentum through the back air. That's going to be your best bet. But yeah, he has ways to cover everything. Like even that jump air dodge I mentioned is very easily counterplayable with like down air or just like jumping back then back airing, or just hitting him before the jump air dodge can come out. So it's pretty bad honestly off stage. So the only reliable way to win this matchup is to try and force him into shield, or like forces him to play neutral in the way that you want. Try and make use of the fact that you have a sword and he doesn't. Like just basic things like that. But yeah, it's pretty. The risk reward on a lot of things is definitely in his favor. I'm gonna have Bayonetta also in slight loss. This is probably the most unfun matchup to play in the game, in my opinion. The fact that Bayo can touch of death us for doing a lot of what we want is very annoying. It's kind of like Snake, where we have to play exactly like to the game plan of Bayo. you gotta play by all her rules, and then you just have to try and outplay her, like playing her own rules, which is kind of messed up, which that contributes to why it's a losing matchup. Bayonetta's up out of shield is really, really good, and she can kill you off of it in some situations. So just watch out that you're not jabbing a lot. Watch out that after you land your forwarder that you're shielding, that you're like, I would never forwarder jab Bayo like ever. I would just always shield or always roll or always dash back, because they're always going to rip that up B like every single time. And then remember that if your forwarder gets too stale, then it'll eventually be up Bable, because it starts out -4 to 5, but if you use that thing more than 3 times, then it becomes up Bable. So just watch out that you're spacing your forwarders after it's stale, because you're going to be using forward air a lot. And then I like to try and, if they're predictable with ABK, then try and dash back to avoid ABK and then Nair, because Roy has a very low dash, so you're not going to get ABK'd out of your dash, which is really good. Off stage, it's pretty annoying. The edge guarding, it's not as bad as Greninja, obviously, but like a combination of Nair and then up B to try and catch you can be pretty annoying. So I like to try and go super low if they let you, or just hit them with your up B at the 45-degree angle, because they don't have that like Greninja up B to kill you with the water. If they counter you off stage, sometimes you're fine, sometimes you're not. Depends on the percent. I would say if you're at around mid-percent, you can be fine just like tanking the counter and then going high. But if not, then they have like downer setups out of the counter, so you just gotta be careful about those. You can also try doing the Nair dodge, although Bayo's up B catches air dodge really well, so I would be very careful with doing that because it burns your jump as well. So I would say try and tank like the Nair with up B as much as you can, or just recover super low if they let you. Neutral is another tough part about this matchup, because Bayo does have the threats in a lot of situations that are very bad. So the way that I like to do it is be very evasive, try and make her attack first, try and whiff punish ABK as much as you can. Cola, the last time he played against Lima, he did a really good job at eventually, like after the rock, paper, scissors happened a bunch, Lima eventually started shielding a lot, which is really, really good, because then Cola started down tilting and then Bayo can't up B that, so then he started winning neutral off of that. But neutral is definitely really annoying in this matchup. You just got to make sure that you're not getting ABK'd. Like, just focus on one thing and just don't get ABK'd. So just play in whatever way you feel comfortable, just as long as you're not getting ABK'd or not getting up to a shield. And then when it comes to ledge trapping, you kind of have to respect her off ledge, which is really annoying. Like, it's pretty funny. You'll just see Cola run like full stage when he's trying to ledge trap Lima. But he does it for a reason, and that's because Bayo is like barely in disadvantage state when she's on ledge, because she has so many different reversals with up B and side B. She can stall forever basically off stage. She can drop off counter. There's like so many different mix-ups. So if you're a Bayo player doesn't know all them, then you can try and ledge trap her. But if they know like all the mix-ups, then it's honestly sometimes just worth it just to not even try and ledge trap. Just depends on the percent that you're at. If you know you're at the cheese percent, then just be careful. So it's not a very fun matchup, but you just gotta try your best to play neutral in a way that gets them to shield. I'm gonna have Pikachu in slight loss as well. I actually think that Pikachu is a better matchup than Pichu, just for the reason that we actually can out-shield some of his things. Like, we can out-shield his neutral air. I think we can out-shield his back air as well if it's a little bit stale. And then we can also kill him really early with jab back air and side B, which is going to be really, really solid. I also do like trying to get tech chases against Pikachu as well. And we can forward air his T-Jolt, which is going to be really, really good. He also doesn't have a fast escape option, so you can get some decent combos against him as well. He's small, but not that small, so you can still hit him out of certain things. However, he combos Roy like really hard. If you've ever fought a really good Pikachu, it is actually like really, really annoying. And then the edge guarding is really bad as well. I like to do the same thing I do against Bayo, where I try and eat his back air with my up B. In some positions, that's not possible, and you might have to try and do like a delayed jump or something. But if you're able to recover at the 45-degree angle, like without getting red, do it. If they start doing preemptive downers to read that, then you can recover high. Like, you can jump and then up B. Like, don't up B right away because then it'll got caught, but do like jump up B. So just try and mix up as much as you can off stage. But yeah, the reason this matchup's losing is because Pikachu is very hard to ledge trap because he has quick attack. He's very hard to juggle because he has quick attack. He's very hard to fight in neutral because he has the whiff punishing, like the back airs. He pancakes all the time. So if you hit him while he's in his pancake, he'll get sour spot a lot. That's like a huge thing. So it's pretty hard to get any like substantial damage on Pikachu. But you got to make sure that you're killing him early as much as you can. That's like the main thing. The Pikachu players I fought, they'll eventually get lazy if the game goes on too long. But if you fight like the better Pikachus, like, you know, like the Shiny Marks or the ESAMs or whatever, like you have to be careful that they don't just time you out. So you got to take those opportunities when you get them. But yeah, the matchup is kind of trash. And speaking of trash, I have Pichu. I'm going to put this also in slight loss, but it's definitely worse than Pikachu for sure, I think. I think the reason for that is just because the T-Jolts are a little bit more threatening. They can send tech chases. They can even kill off stage like a lot better than Pikachu's. Like getting T-Jolt gimped is a really big deal because you can't just hit him like the way that you hit Pikachu because T-Jolt loses, Uppy loses to T-Jolt. Roy also gets tech chased really hard by Pichu and obviously comboed as well. So if Pichu's using Nair and neutral, like always be ready to tech it or else you're gonna die at like 50 to F smash or to down tilt up air thunder. So just be really careful about that. So the main way I play neutral in this matchup is Pichu is one of those characters where he's gonna hit your shield and that's never gonna be punishable, but then he's gonna do something. So punish his second option. So like for example, if he does Nair into down tilt, then you can punish the down tilt. Or if he does down tilt into up tilt, then you push the up tilt kind of thing, right? He's going to be very hit and run, but the good news is that if when he uses T-Jolt, it damages him. So he can't really time out the same way that Pikachu can, unless he has like a huge lead. And then his quick attack also doesn't have a hitbox, so we can ledge trap him a lot better than Pikachu because there's no fear of getting reversaled. The worst thing that'll happen is he just takes center stage, but he's not actually hitting you while doing that or comboing you while doing that, which can be really good. Quick attack also, again, not a threat in neutral because it does no damage. So the reasons why it's worse is the edge guarding is more lethal with down air and T-Jolt and just his forward air and back air being even more strong. He's even harder to hit with a smaller hitbox. Our moves sweet spot him even less than Pikachu. So all those things are going to be really annoying. So yeah, the rats are pretty bad for Roy, I'm not going to lie. Diddy Kong, going to be our last -1. This matchup, and again, another small character. I think you're seeing a bit of a pattern here, but it's going to be, the neutral game is going to be pretty hard against Diddy. If he lets you get his banana, you need to make sure you're taking advantage of that. Then everything becomes like a winning matchup pretty much if you get banana. But as long as he has banana, the risk reward for doing like anything is super messed up. Like if you do Nair, then it's punishable with banana toss. If you do forward air jab, then it's punishable with banana toss. If you just run up, it's banana. If you run up shield, it's side B. If you jump, then he has really good anti-airs. His combos work really well on Roy. He can edge guard him pretty well with a combination of down air and just back air into or banana toss into back air. He also ledge traps Roy really hard because Roy dies from down air really early. Like if you neutral get up and get hit by Nair down air at 30, like you're basically just dead. Like even though it doesn't kill you, Roy's upwards velocity as well as him being a fast faller is very low. So it can be really brutal to die early in that situation. I would say just really try and get his banana. Try not to get whiff punished too much. Try and force him to start shielding because then you can start down tilting, jabbing, and grabbing. Try and pinpoint his jumps too. That's something I've noticed when watching this matchup. I watch this matchup probably more than any other. The Roys start winning when they start anti-airing and they start getting banana. So those are going to be the two biggest priorities on your end. And then I also like to, on occasion, just be careful if he has banana, but I like to do just sometimes just like run up F tilt just to try and read him dashing. Because the Diddy Kong players, they like to dash a lot because they want to be actionable. So they like to dash kind of in and out of the area instead of shielding or instead of being like in an animation. So they're not really going to be throwing at hitboxes that much unless they're like right next to you. So I like to try and just go for like a risk reward F tilt at kill %. But obviously don't get too predictable with it. Another good thing about that too is they're going to want to shield it. So then they're going to start shielding more. So yeah, try and go for that. But just trying to get blown up as much as you can. And don't get conditioned by banana. Those are the main two things. Alright, on to the stinkers. The worst of the worst. I'm going to say Roy's second worst matchup. Currently, I'm going to say it's Kazuya. I think it teeters between Kazuya and Steve, but for the moment, I'm gonna say it's Kazuya as the second worst. I think just for the basic reason that when we get our hands on Kazuya, we like blow him up like pretty bad, which is really good for us. He sometimes has to take, like, for example, like down throw forward air on Kazuya is really broken because if he air dodges, his air dodge sucks, so we can just frame trap with up air, and then he can never jump out because his jump just gets caught. So at 50%, if you grab him, do like down throw forward air, it's really broken. He also gets comboed super hard off of down throw at 0. Like down throw jab full momentum nair, up air is gonna be like really good against him. Or if he dies out, just jab, just down throw full momentum nair. He gets down tilted like super hard as down tilt tech chase super hard as well. That's definitely something I see the Roys, like the good Roys, do a lot in that matchup. Is they try and hit him with down tilt before his electric comes out. Because when Kazuya do electric in neutral, they have to run up electric. So there is a little bit of time before the electric comes out that you can down tilt them. Another thing, I would say in neutral, don't hold forward as much as you win other matchups. Do a lot of nairs and fairs and down tilts in place or retreating, because you always want to be able to outrange electric. You never want to fight it head on. I like never ever do aggressive nairs unless you're absolutely sure that they're gonna run into it. He has unexpectedly good out of shield sometimes with up B, so you gotta be careful. If your jab is staled, it can be up B'd. I believe his up B is frame 11 or 10, so if jab is staled, like I think more than 3 times, then you can up B it. So definitely have to be careful about that. Otherwise, you do shield pressure him really hard, but Kazuya's are like almost never gonna shield. So the reason why this is bad though is you just get comboed forever. It's like, it's not too complicated. If Kazuya ever parries, then he can kill you for it with the like grab, like the kickback grab. I forget what it's called, but yeah, he can kill you with that really early at like 50. So just make sure you're not getting hit with the command grab. But we can blow him up back, which is the only reason I don't think it's his worst matchup. Is we have good, like decent to good aggression against Kazuya for the most part, and good tech chasing, good juggling. I also do like to platform camp Kazuya on occasion, especially if he has Rage Drive. You do have to be careful because Rage Drive can hit you if you're shielding on the platform, but as long as you're mixing in your movement, it's going to be hard to hit. And then just mix in doing like run off up air, run off forward air, or just doing drop down forward air, or just staying on the platform. I would say just mix up your platform movement a lot, because Kazuya, if he gets up air there, it's not the end of the world. It's just like whatever, 12%, and then the neutral resets because he's not going to be juggling you. So don't be afraid to take up airs. Just make sure you're not getting hit by electric as much as you can. All right, Roy's worst matchup in the game. I think it's Steve at the moment. I mean, everyone knows Steve is broken. We do have a few things that I want to highlight other than the fact that we just lose the matchup. If he's up tilting your shields and he does another up tilt, you can up B it, which is really good. Like a lot of characters just have to roll. So the fact that Roy has one of the best options against that is really good. Off stage, you're kind of just dead like almost every single time to blocks. Never recover super low, because then your up B hitbox is not out, so you're just gonna get blocked at like 0. So just try and mix between recovering super high or recovering at 45-degree angle, depending on where they put their blocks or where they're putting their anvils or stuff. In neutral, try not to shield too much either, because all of Steve's stuff is safe. You don't want to be going for those up Bs out of the up tilts, because if they read it and shield, then you can just take 1,000,000%. Make sure you're not getting footstool down aired out of your nair or forward air as well. Try and juggle Steve as much as you can, but he has blocks and anvil, which can be really annoying. Honestly, a big part of this matchup is just not to get overly frustrated. Just try and keep your mental dialed in. It's hard. Steve's annoying. Steve's broken. It's very unfair, but just try and look what they do, because the Steve players that end up winning, sometimes some of them can be a bit carried. So just watch what habits they have. Sometimes you'd be surprised by how they make some simple mistakes occasionally. So just try and watch for their habits. That's what I'd advise. But other than that, I mean, if you and the Steve are both playing well and you're both skilled players, I mean, it's not going to be fun and it's not going to be easy at all. But just try and get your hits where you can and try and avoid the big kill moves. So yeah, I think that'll about do it for this matchup chart. This ended up being a little bit longer than I thought, honestly, just because there's a lot to talk about and a lot of the matchup meta has changed. So I wanted to kind of go in depth about as many of the matchups as I could. But yeah, if you guys want to see more of this, like Royce stuff, let me know. But for now, I will see you guys. Bye.